was on your stream at the time.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Asylum Podcast, episode number 10. Joined with us today is the usual reprobate, a little bit of madness, and with the storm cloud hair, Mr. Moist Noodle. It's quite funky, the hair. It's actually matching the background.
Don't
it's
mention
amazing.
the hair.
Look at your hair.
Special guest, Mr. Paul Berserker Shelley, the one and only owner of the Astropub. Good evening, sir.
I'm special.
He is special. Very special.
First question, what happened to your hair?
So yeah, let's have a good 10-minute chat. Come on, boys. Let's get it out of there. Let's get it, push it out of the way so we can tuck it under.
Right.
the
Long story short, I've had a really busy week. Work is insane at the moment. I got home, had my dinner. I was rushing to get my hair done before the podcast. I cut my hair. I bleached my hair, and then after bleaching the hair, realised I didn't actually have any blue dye. So at the moment, it's like half blonde, half light blue. So, yeah, that's the story. There we go. I got to go to work like this tomorrow. Never mind.
It's okay. Welcome to the internet where
everyone judges you in seconds. Whatever you wear, whatever you do, you have to be prepared. If anyone out there is a streamer, wants to be a streamer, you must have no shame.
I have no shame. I think we all know that.
Because somebody will touch a nerve with you at some point. Someone will say something that you're a bit self-conscious about, and if you give them any moment of weakness,
they will jump. They will jump right on it. They will
yeah.
absolutely jump on it.
Yeah. So don't. And people will try and push you as well. If they see just a slight little bit, I know because I'm one of those people. They'll just kind of push a little bit just to see where the boundary zone is.
I'm just saying now, I don't like beer and I don't like chocolate. That's my weakness. Don't send me any. It's fine. So,
your movement.
What are you literally building your kitchen now? Is that
I'm building this out. I'm building this as we're kind of talking. I'm moving things around.
It's funny you mentioned kitchen. You want to buy a kitchen, Madness?
I don't want to have anything. By the end of this week, I want nothing more to do with kitchens. I am done with kitchens for a good couple of years. That's for sure.
Me too.
But you do find that once you get through the decorating stage, the missus just turns around and says, "Can you that what you did a few years back is now old? Can you redo it?" And you just end up going in that cycle of round and round.
Perpetual loop.
Yes.
Perpetual loop. So, so what's everyone been up to then? Why don't we run a little kind of like since last week? How's everyone's feels with what you've been up to, and have you been playing Star Citizen or not playing Star Citizen? All that. What have you been playing? What you've been enjoying? That kind of stuff.
For me, I'm kind of on hold with Star Citizen at the moment. I think I streamed Star Citizen once this week, just to kind of get touch base with my viewers who do play Star Citizen and only enjoy me playing Star Citizen. I kind of feel like I've gone through as much of the 3.0 content that I want to get through. I haven't unlocked either of the mission givers because it just seems like an awful lot of effort to try and unlock them. But other than that, I've been playing Vermintide 2, which I absolutely love. Very good game, but
how was the
I
Twitch
think it's going to get
integration of that?
repetitive. Well, I was playing with Maya last night. And naturally, the internet decided to screw us over as much as possible.
That's kind of obvious.
We're fighting a boss, and then they dump another boss on top of us. So that was, as a tank, I was just sat there with my shield trying to defend myself. But it's a good game, but I think it'll get repetitive. And other than that, I've been playing a bit of Kingdom Come Deliverance, and that's about it. The rest of the time, I've just been working because I've got many kitchens to sell at work at the moment. Even though I'm not a kitchen salesman.
I love the fact that you got computers 1 minute, and then all of a sudden you've got a John Lewis kitchen to get rid of.
Like on a Monday, I'll be stripping down servers, and then on a Tuesday, I'm trying to sell a kitchen. It's insane. There we go. Wow. It's a £10,000 kitchen, by the way. That kitchen.
Oh, I know.
It's
you're
insane.
basically Del Boy. Yeah.
I am Del Boy.
10,000. And how much is it going for?
I haven't decided yet. Probably about £1,000.
So 10 grand kitchen.
10 grand down to £1,000.
It would be better. It'd be worth it just to get £1,000 and then sell it for £2,000 somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what will happen. For those who aren't aware, I work for a recycling firm, so I take a lot of X-display units from big retailers and sell them on for a charity. So
Actually, I've got a question for you about, because you were saying that you haven't been playing Star Citizen, Moist, and you're fairly new to the streaming world of Star Citizen, as far as I can remember. You haven't been around that long, and you're already got bored with 3.0, whereas some of us have been playing since 2.5, 2.6.3, the same missions over and over again. All I'm saying is you're a bit of a lightweight.
I am a bit of a lightweight. I'm happy to accept that, and yeah. But I've been.
I will defend Moist. I will defend Moist here. I'm going to jump in and defend Moist. I played the hell out of 2.6.3. I played it to death. But the difference between 2.6.3 and 3.0 is that 2.6.3 was playable.
Yeah.
And it was fun.
Minor difference.
3.0 is fun. The problem is that the fun with 3.0 is about 15 hours. Whereas 2.6.3, you had about a repeatable fun of about 3 to 4 hours. So if you're okay with doing cargo runs and cargo runs and cargo runs and missions and cargo runs and missions. Oh, I've earned all this $2 billion in the course of 15 minutes, and I've got nothing to spend it on, and there is no challenge to it. Like, when I did my millionaire run in 2.6.3, it took me months to get that done, and it felt satisfying. Even if I had nothing to do afterwards, I had made 1 million plus AUEC. I had nothing to spend it on, but I had done it. That was like, people do that kind of shit. They're like, I'm going to do it for the sake of getting it done, and it was an accomplishment. Not many people have done it. Those of us who played around with it, but in 3.0, there's nothing like that. I think
that's the problem. We have nothing to spend on. I think once we can buy ships, buy weapons and stuff like that, it'll get a lot more enjoyable, because you can set yourself that goal and that thing that you want to work towards and actually work towards it. At the moment, the goal is just make money.
But I think that also brings up an interesting point in the whole pay to win thing as well, though. Like, people saying that, if you bought everything beforehand, and when the game is live and you've got it all and you've got nothing to work towards, the game will get stale pretty quick if you've got no aims.
Because if you think, right, that I'm going to be able to jump straight into my reclaimer when the game goes, that's not going to happen.
No, I know. I'm saying that
I always like to throw madness at these questions. I always like to throw madness at these questions, because I think Madness and I are in the same boat, which is you can never play this game and pull up your Connie, and someone with an Aurora will wreck your face if they've known how to play the game. If you're a good pilot, you are going to destroy people who are just wealthy.
And that's why I'm going to avoid everybody.
If you're a crap pilot, well, funny, on Calling All Devs today, he did actually say that about the disrupting quantum jumps. And he said an Aurora could disrupt an Idris, and Jared's face was just like, oh god, Reddit's going to go mad. Because he's saying if they equip it with the right tools, and it's not seen by the Idris, it could effectively stop it quantum jumping.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I promised I would talk about EVE Online this evening, and just the same with EVE Online. It's like you can have a massive ship, but if you have an interceptor, one of the smallest ships in the game, you can screw over anyone, really.
I think we've completely disrailed Madness's plans. I like to take.
As if I'd slap him if he said EVE Online again on the Star Citizen podcast.
Okay, it's fine. Elite Dangerous is coming up soon.
Moist, were you on the last captain's table? Because I think we talked exactly about that.
I was watching it, but I don't think I was there for that part of it.
We talked about interdiction and using examples from Elite and EVE as good bases for things. Because it makes sense that an Aurora could interrupt an Idris, but if an Aurora interrupts an Idris, that Aurora is going to shit its pants, because it's just like, oh, I'm going to go looking for some cargo runners. Oh, it's the UAE fleet. Fuck me. It's the equivalent of being like I'm gonna rob a store, and you step into the store and there's a cop buying like a donut. You're like, oh, fuck me.
Not just a cop. Not just the cop. The SWAT team.
Yeah, they're on a break, just having a cup of tea, and they're like, oh, hey.
And you probably get away with robbing like a $5, and then 2 minutes later you just swarmed. It's like, going somewhere.
I love the idea of the two scenarios of that. Is one where the person does that in Aurora, not really, and it gets literally, you see the bullet go, and then just on the screen. It just gets blown up. I love that, and then I love the opposite of where someone maybe does know what they're doing, and then like does manage to like like in the Star Wars thing when the guy's lost control and like goes straight through the bridge, and then you watch the Idris just go down like that, and everyone's just like, what? That would be so cool too. So I love the idea. If there is the way I look at it is it's a bit like how the Death Star was designed with a flaw. I would love them to design the Idris with a slight flaw that can be exploited, but it's really hard to do.
Sorry, I just realised we've gone off on a tangent. So that was my week. How about you, Astro? What have you been up to this week?
Well, we'll bring it back. Good bring back there. That was a good bring back.
Wow, really? I thought we'd gone over them.
Sea of Thieves has ruined my life because
I can't wait for that to launch.
Because they've released since closed beta, they've released a beta weekend every weekend for the last month.
Yeah,
it's releasing. So it's like so more every weekend I'm like, I'm gonna play some Star Citizen. I'm gonna like at least try to play it, and it's like Sea of Thieves is like, hey buddy, I hear you like ships and sea and interactive gameplay.
No bugs, because missions and friends and PvP and everything. Yeah,
it's and like one of the craziest things. This is one of the things that I want to do in Star Citizen is we decided we were going to not shoot immediately at every ship we see if they're just like docked or something like that. We would attempt to tell them to stop, and then we posed as royal chicken inspectors.
I watched that. I remember watching that.
Yeah, be like pull aside for the king. We are royal chicken inspectors for the Royal Navy, and with our terrible British accents and jumping aboard. And the best part was that people played along. Like at first, you're like, "What the fuck is this?" And as we went along, they were like, "I get what you're doing," and they started picking up on it. And people like we only had to fight 2 people, and one of them we actually done the inspection entirely and were leaving when they decided to attack us. Wow. But both of those we managed to sink. Because I can't remember
who I was watching play it the other day. It was a Star Citizen streamer, but they found another pirate ship and it was parked up. So they hid around the other side of the island. They swam over, stole all their cannonballs, and then finally brought their ship round. The other people panicked, got onto the ship, and then realized they had no cannonballs. It was just like the gameplay options are friggin' amazing. It's like
that's the kind of stuff that I want to do. Is like pull people over, like troll people, but like in a fun way, with especially like VoIP and stuff like that. The VoIP and those things coming into Star Citizen.
I can't wait for VoIP.
But between that, Deep Rock Galactic, Surviving Mars, and Kingdom Come Deliverance, there are too many games. And then like on the 20th we have the release. On the 15th, so in a couple days we have Surviving Mars is releasing. So anybody who likes RTS stuff, that's going to be out in Steam.
Does look
and then on the 20th we have Sea of Thieves. On the 25th, we have Far Cry 5, which is the first Far Cry game I've ever played and I've actually been interested in playing. And then possibly 3.1 by the end of the month. Possibly, because I'm not believing that they're going to get it out by the end of the month, but I've never really did. But we'll see. It's an ETF right now, so.
Yeah, Evo.
And then after that in April, we've got what is it? Yeah, BrizzCon. But we also have BattleTech is coming out as well. So it's like boom, 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 game. So I'm like my whole life is like, yay, and fuck you all. I have to play all of these games and I have no time to do it, So
it's almost like they knew Star Citizen was having a dry patch.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's release some shit now.
Bok in chat says, I think Sea of Thieves can't keep me occupied for more than 8 hours. I purely think it comes down to who you're playing the game with.
Yeah, I've seen a load of comments like that, especially on Facebook and things. It's like, well, they play it for a bit and they say, yeah, it's fun, grabbing the chest back and forth and everything, but then what? And there's quite a few people thinking that. But it's you've got to look at it more. It's definitely more of a PvP game.
Yeah,
it's a PvP sandbox. Yeah. And you make your fun is what you make of it. Now, all of the missions are tools for you to use to enjoy the game. Now you can just play that and have a good, 20, 30 hours probably of gameplay, fun, which is okay. But if you're interested in interacting with other people, with fighting, with negotiating, like and they're going to be adding more stuff like more raids and that kind of stuff. You have to think of it as more of an MMO like a DayZ style MMO where like PvP, everyone's open, open world sandbox, or like a Star Wars Galaxies, where there is some goals, but other than those just light goals, there's really nothing to do. And I think that's one of the big problems that Star Citizen is going to face, is that a lot of people are going to be like, what's the point? I can do missions, great. Then I can unlock better missions, great. I got an Idris, I'm done. Right? This is the win point. Like, there's no winning point in a sandbox game. It's the idea is to continue to play it, and a lot of people don't get that. And I think that's one of the things that's going to hurt Sea of Thieves, but it's also going to be one of those things that really helps it.
I think that's why Star Citizen has. I mean, there's a few reasons why, but I think that's why Star Citizen has a bit of an older community as well, because we understand more of, and this is a generalization, but we understand, I think, more of what gaming was like before, when you actually had to do a lot of your own imagination in the game to make the game more special. I just think the younger generation is more railroads and kind of used to be.
There is that madness, but also when I was younger, I didn't have lots of money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, okay. There's definitely that. It definitely has an impact on Star Citizen. Sure, I agree. But in terms of that type of thinking,
you need lots of money to play Star Citizen. You just need to buy the basic package. Let's go over this one more time.
Sorry.
£2, and then you can have a world of adventures.
Sorry, Dad.
Not yet.
In fact, you can get into Star Citizen for less than Sea of Thieves.
But I hear what you're saying.
Yes. Jesus.
I agree with you though, in terms of like Sea of Thieves. I played it for a bit, and I was a bit like, yeah, okay, this is cool, but it will only be as much fun as the people that are playing it with me. On my own, realistically, I'll have a bit of fun, but generally, on the whole, I'm going to have more fun if I play with a full crew of. How many people?
To me, there's quite a few games out at the moment that's like that. That it's just not a solo player game, like Vermintide 2 that was playing. I just wouldn't bother logging in on my own, even though you can do bots and stuff.
No.
Sea of Thieves, again, I tried it. It's unless I got a multi-crew, they don't bother.
The thing that does impress me about that game, the little ships, the small like single-person ships, this sloops, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They're really actually quite difficult to fight if you're on a big boat. I haven't been on the big boats yet, but I was watching the streamers.
They can literally do orbit.
Yeah,
they're low in the water and they can orbit around the galleons. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
I agree with. While I disagree with Sherman that it's not buy it through a Windows Store interesting, it's definitely interesing enough that it's interesting. I would buy it through. I bought it through Windows Store. The only problem is that I think that Microsoft made a fucking mistake with that. Like, just put it to Steam like everybody else and just deal with it.
I wouldn't mind buying through a Microsoft store if the store wasn't complete dog shit.
If it wasn't 3 stores, you had to get you have to get Microsoft Store, you have to get the Xbox Insider, and then you have to use the Xbox app to be able to play the game at all.
Yeah.
It's like
and
3
then to
different
invite
apps
people,
for one
you
game.
have to go out of the game to the app to get them, and then go back in again, and then back out again. And then if you add someone to your friends list as well, you have to add, if you add it, or like the search function to search for a player, it doesn't find them. Unless you then, you think it's searched, but it hasn't. It's just searched your friends list. You then have to search again with the actual magnifying tool for it to find your friends. And it's like, oh my God, just add the person.
100%. It's the same with, there's lots of other games. Anytime I find a game that needs to be on Origin, or I think For Honor's on another one that I had.
Uplay.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I fucking forget. Exactly, that's the point. I actually forget that I don't even know how to get. Then I go, did I have a password? What was my password again? Okay, it was and then by the time I figured out, I go, fuck it, I'll just go on Steam and play a game with my friend, because also all my friends are predominantly on Steam, so I then have to then your friend list goes from this long or whatever, how long in your stream, it suddenly goes to this long on the next one. So you're like, oh fuck, it's a multiplayer game and I've got 4 friends. I'm like, oh fuck, I've got to. Yeah, it's just, I'm sorry, just put it all on one. It's so much easier. It really is. I agree.
Or don't be a dumbass or a EA, Ubisoft, and Microsoft, and actually start hosting third-party applications to your stores so that you can actually have some competition to Steam.
Yeah, that'd be good. That would be good too.
Yeah.
But I really like it. I'm gonna Sea of Thieves is gonna be one of those games that I'm gonna play to death.
I just need friends.
I'm gonna bum rush it. I'm gonna burn it in 2 weeks, and then I'm gonna come back in 3 months and see what's going on.
My issue is none of my friends are playing it.
I might just get the Sea of Thieves. I might just get the Xbox subscription thing, which gives you access to it. Play it for a month.
$10. Yeah, it's $10.
$10, and then come back, see how it's doing in a few. Play the shit out of it, see how it's doing in a few months, and then come back to it instead of paying 60 odd quid that it's
Same.
supposed to be asking for.
That's what I'm like with that Mars surviving game as well. I mean, I'm just like, it looks cool, but I'm not going to pay full price for it. I'll wait for it to drop in value, and then I'll get it. You know.
I'm contractually obligated not to give that opinion, unfortunately, because I got a review copy as well, and they said you can't give a full like buy it or not buy it until the 15th. All I will say is that they also plan on doing more updates in the future.
Yeah, it looks good. It does look really good from what I saw, and that's the type of game that I'd enjoy, I think, and I love the idea of colonizing and building Mars bases. That sounds fantastic. So I will get it at some point.
Madness, how about your week? What have you been up to this week?
Just the same old crap. Like the kitchen's been put in, and then I've been driving backwards and forwards for odds and sods. Like one day I had to do like 5 or 6 trips because one thing's missing, one thing's not missing. So yeah, kitchen's been taking my focus really this week, and then I've been being in lots of people's streams. So I was in Binary Loop stream today. I was in the Fuse stream before he left last Sunday, I think it was.
Have you seen his setup while he's in India? He's taken 2 laptops with him, his lights, his camera, his microphone, his mixer, the whole shebang, just not his green screen. He's taken everything else.
You'll get there, and you won't be able to plug it in, or the internet will be awful. And he'll be like, "Oh shit!"
The thing stopping him from streaming at the moment is he needs some sort of converter for his mixer.
Right.
But other than that, he's golden.
Other than that, he's good to go. Okay, cool. Yeah. So yeah, I was on his stream the other day, and then I think he was doing like an Argo type of thing, and I just wanted to kind of educate him into the art of like how to get on somebody's ship and kill them. So I told him that won't know if I'm on until I've killed you. And so I kind of I jumped into his stream, and then I got on board I think they were a freelancer, and I got onto the door was open. I just walked straight onto the freelancer, walked straight up onto the bunk, lay down on the bunk. They all came on, got into their seat. They took off. They suddenly get shot at because I had a public enemy. I had an enemy status. And then I think the few was on his stream. I watched him on a few because I could hear him going in the background behind me going, who's got a crime stat? Blah, blah, blah. And then they didn't even check. Someone was like, I haven't got one. I haven't got one. I haven't got one. And then they just sat down and carried on. And I was like, that was like a massive red alert flag waving around saying
you just assume the game's broken.
Yeah, they're just like, it's broken. So they just got down out the bunk, walked up to the front doors, and I went to pull my gun, but I had no gun on, and then I just wrote in chat saying, "You're all dead." Because I could just literally just gone headshot, 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 all of them, and then just stole the ship and gone. And then I did it. Then later they took us to Grim Hex, which was really stupid because that was a place I could buy a gun, so I bought a gun. And then I got onto the Argo, shot the 2 guys in the back of the Argo, and then I killed a few later, and it was all on stream, and it was all character, and it was fun, and it was a laugh, and because they didn't know who was who, and I just was like teaching them little tricks and stuff, and things you could do, and then they finally killed me with 2 ships on either side of the Argo, so it was good. It was like public enemy proper, and I actually have 5 red now on my character. I didn't think you could actually get to 5 red. I have actually got to 5 red on my
impressive
crime stat. So I'm pretty chuffed with that. That was my weeks. And then
what else did you do?
A binary. We did. We've loaded up a cutlass with I think it was 14 or 15 dragonflies in the cutlass today.
15.
15. I think it's 14 or 15. Yeah. On count.
Wow. And it didn't blow up.
And it didn't blow up.
I can't get one in without it pinballing around.
Yeah. No, I got
Mine always end up upside down.
I've had them popped from the roof a few times. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we actually unloaded them all as well. We flew them all to Olisar and unloaded them all. But the problem
who says the game's not playable at the moment?
Yeah, there you go. You can make fun.
And
how many Noxes can we fit on? That's the challenge.
It's entirely playable, but you have to make your own fun. And most people's idea of fun isn't selling drugs to Grimhex, though that is fun. The problem is that I can sell drugs to Grimhex and I have no threat whatsoever. Whereas, like, doing something in Sea of Thieves, I'm always constantly looking behind me. We're always looking for other ships because you never know when someone's going to approach you. Because we've done that before. And in Star Citizen, when 3.0 was hopping, it was the same. It's like, I have no idea if there's a pirate anywhere. There could be someone following me right now and I don't see them. So,
especially when you've been in 2.6 and everybody just shoots each other on sight, like when you get to the outpost and security outpost, every time you landed somewhere, first of all, it's like, is someone going to shoot me? Is there someone hiding in this outpost?
Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons I'm really excited for VoIP, because I think it'll make it a lot easier not to shoot each other.
Well, you also need the honest to God answer is we need competitive AI that isn't broken and
Yes,
at a frame rate that is playable for combat. Because if we have stability and frame rate that's good for combat, and we have AI that is a danger to players, even a little bit of a danger to players, suddenly having to deal with common runs becomes a hazard, because you're going to constantly have to deal with pirates or other issues, and you'll have fun doing it. So it'll be fun to fight an AI pirate, and then maybe encountering a player that makes it even more kind of dangerous.
Isn't subsumption coming to the AI ships in 3.1?
Subsumption, yes.
Or did I dream that?
No, they did. That's what they said. So it's
okay.
I don't know if it's going to be the full subsumption on it, but yeah, they'll start being able to jump and learn how to use the right weapons to shoot you and things like that. So
okay,
it's coming. The AI, it will come. But I like the idea of obviously the interdiction. I like interdiction. I'm one of those weird people that actually likes it. I hate it and I like it. It's like a kind of double-edged sword, but I do actually like it. I agree with you, Paul. It would be far better. I think take it away until they've got the AI working, and it actually engages you, and the threat increases. So the longer you're there, and the more potential challenge there's, that more dangerous ships, pirate ships, can turn up, because they now know your location. So maybe it's like, and then it would be great if, it would just be great if it was much more complicated, much more engaging, and it would be really threatening.
Bring up an example where I actually like interdiction.
Yeah, go for it.
Elite Dangerous. Because in Elite Dangerous, you can have a cargo ship just full of crap. And you could have dumped all your money into it, because some of us are actually really stupid, and we dump all of our money into that cargo run.
I would never do that.
As you're traveling, the person that's going to interdict you is stalking you, and they will send you text messages saying, "I'm coming for you." And it's actually friggin' terrifying, and that kind of thing, if we get that in Star Citizen, I think it'll be really, really cool, because it really does get the heart pumping.
My only problem with Elite Dangerous is that Elite Dangerous model, from when I remember, it was easy just to say F you and just jump and just not have to worry about them.
It depends what ship you're in, really, but it is possible just to leg it. If you can tank them for long enough, you can just run.
So how would you like this? Interdiction then, Paul? Because obviously, if you don't like the idea of being able to jump after a period of time, well, how would you with the bubbles like Eve?
So bubbles like Eve, like the thing is that Matachi brought up a good point on the captain's table this weekend, where he said a couple of things. He said like Eve has like 3 or 4 different types of interdiction, and I even like the elite style of interdiction, which is grab mass lock. The idea of having hey, you got interdicted by an Idris, fuck you. Good luck. You got to go X number of kilometers away, and that Idris is going to be chasing you, and you're going to be attacked by fighters. Something like that makes sense. Bubbles or point, where you point at a ship that's to interdict it, like an elite does that as well, where you have to aim your interdictor at the target, and then it'll wobble and stuff like that, and you have to make sure you stay on target as it's trying to maneuver away from you. Or even just knock a ship out of interdiction, or interdict it, and then have a device that you keep them from interdicting by pointing it at them that disrupts their quantum drives. And I don't mind interdiction. I just don't like the frequency of it, because the problem with the frequency of it is, I'm getting interdicted every 5 minutes. I'm getting interdicted having interdiction happen, not rarely, but uncommonly, but still have it be meaningful. Like, you don't know if you're going to get interdicted by pirates, or you're getting interdicted by advocacy or security forces who are checkpoint.
Or aliens like Vandal or whatever.
That makes it interesting. And instead of right now in Star Citizen, its interdiction is fucking interdiction, and I just run anyways, because you're not going to stop me, because it takes them. By the time I've spooled up I've cooled down, I've started to spool up my drive, is finally when the AI starts going, oh wait, there's a person here now. Their reaction time is so slow. It's like
they haven't been prepared.
Doesn't matter.
They're so unprepared. It's like, they're shocked that they've actually managed to interdict you as well. They're like, oh my god, we actually managed to do this? No way, hang on a minute, let me start my ship and get close to you by the time we've done it.
I actually have to agree with Matt Sherman in chat. He's essentially saying, I think, I'm paraphrasing now, that, being interdicted and not being able to defend yourself essentially is really shit. And he uses stun locking in MMOs as a good example. And I think that is one of the problems that I have with Elite Dangerous as a hauler. If once you do get interdicted, your only choice is to run. And with some of the big fat ships, you just can't really do that. And it is a little bit shit when there's nothing you can do about it.
If you're in a big cargo ship that gets interdicted, how are you going to stop that?
The issue for me isn't necessarily that stun locks are bullshit. The issue for me is that stun locks are bullshit because there is no counter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And if there was a counter, the other thing is that it makes sense to have a to counter that, because if you can counter that, then it becomes an issue of players being prepared or not.
Exactly,
because
and theoretically, if you've got
making your
hauling
decisions,
ship in Star Citizen, you're going to have people on your turrets if you've got common sense,
Or like, hey, you don't like getting you're going to be acting in there's going to be a dangerous area. You need to purchase this module. Oh, what? Yeah. But then that reduces my fuel efficiency by this percent. Well, you either choose to have protection or not, and that means that your decisions are meaningful. Because if your decisions are just bullshit, like, oh, I get interdicted and I just run, or I can just ignore the AI or the players and just do what I want, then fuck interdiction. What's the point of it? Like, if there's no way to make it interesting as an encounter, then why have it? And right now, it's not interesting. Right now, it's just an excuse to funnel AI at players. Yeah. And slow you down a little bit, and I know that it's early implementation and it's going to change, and there's lots of other things they do. This is just a tech to see if it's working or not. But
it's good to talk about it. It's good to talk about it. It's good to engage it. It's good to talk about it because they've already implemented a tier 0, as we would discuss it. That's a tier 0 implementation, and it's good for us to just say, hey, here's the feedback on it. This is how we feel about it. I know it's a bit of obvious. I know we're kind of teaching you to suck eggs, but it's Chris Roberts is doing his little. Putting his hand up in the air and the little meme saying, yes, I already know about all this stuff. But it's shit. It's exactly no shit, exactly. But it's important to talk about it and to come up with maybe someone make some good ideas and suggestions. So yeah, good, cool.
I mean, from calling all devs, I see from the sounds of what they're planning, it's kind of because they asked whether it's going to be specific ships or things like that will do the interdicting, and it sounds like you can do it on any ship. You can stop someone jumping, so you can kind of interdict them that way, stop them quantum jumping. To actually pull them out of quantum jump, you're going to have. They said rather than a ship, it sounds like it's going to be like tools, so you can like put almost like imagine like a giant net down, and if something happens to fly within that course, that will pull them out of quantum.
I've always had the idea of quantum mines, like you a small little mine that you carry in the back of a freelancer. That's pretty
much what it sounded like.
Push it out. You push it out the back, and you EVA out and activate it, and it basically sets up a bubble where like anything in that area is going to get pulled out of quantum. It disrupts quantum, so that you hit that bubble, you get pulled out of quantum, and the goal is to get out of the bubble or disable the mine before you can get out. That way,
and by doing that, which also gives you the opportunity, like you said, if you happen to pull out a massive ship by mistake or you're not after that, you can, if you set that ambush up near some asteroids or something like that, you don't necessarily have to show yourself. They can get pulled out and you can go, fuck that, I ain't attacking that thing, and just stay hidden somewhere.
I'm going to piss off Madness here with this as well, but by saying in Eve, one of the biggest things in Eve was pirates would interdict players, but some players, like large organizations, would see that these like 3 or 4 pirates are, because they could like through sensors or through other means could find out that there are 3 or 4 people there who are pirates, and they go, let's jump 50 ships into this pirate interdiction area, this pirate like warp zone, and see what they do, and just fuck up like 3 or 4 pirates.
Are you talking like when you do the cloaked stealth kind of like run them info runner ships at the beginning, and they'd go out the front and they'd find out what's ahead of everyone?
Yeah,
and then
that's
they'd
the role I normally
play.
They'd
report back to their mate saying, "Guess what's waiting?"
Yeah,
and then you literally just plan
and that would be
so much fun. That was carnage though.
And that's the cool part about like the risk reward thing. It's like, yeah, you can set up a quantum mine, but you have a cutlass and a couple of caterpillars and maybe some buccaneers, and the risk is you pull out like a full org of mercenaries with like 70 ships. Like, oh well, great. Now we're looking for freelancers, and now we've got 2 hammerheads. Congratulations.
Yeah. Nah, the thing is, and this is where it comes to like, I'm interested to know about the base building and kind of like owning stations and things like that, because obviously there could be the risk that, let's just say they implement it where you do have base buildings and locations and stuff. You could maybe think that you could take on these 3 or 4 pirates, but they could have a whole squadron of mates just literally one quantum jump away in their base, who they just go, guys, we're being attacked by da da da, and then the next thing you know is they suddenly, a huge armada of ships suddenly just jumps into your location. You're like, what you thought we were going to win, you're suddenly going to lose. Which I can't wait for that. Please hurry up. I want all of that as fast as possible. Please. I cannot wait. Actually, do you know what? You are saying something on the captain's table. Someone's asked a question actually, which I thought was interesting. Was they were talking about the Idris and the number of like, when is a ship too big?
Mm-hmm.
Which I thought was a really interesting one. And I was like, for me, I looked at that one. I was like, a ship too big for me is when you've got more players on the ship than in the server, because then it's like no one else. I mean, other than, you then own the server, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like literally all the adventure is happening on that one ship flying around.
Well, the hope eventually is that there is no one server. Like if you had a ship that holds 40 people and there's only 40 people on the server, that means there's 40 people in the game.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Like when you're in an area where all of the people are in your ship, it's like, this is maybe too big, but we'll see.
Ship's too big or the space is too small.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. They need to make. But I think it's the Bengal. Bengal's pretty much the biggest one, right? And I think Aaron was saying on his interview, wasn't he, that they are looking at. They have a few issues with it, as far as I was aware. From what it was.
There's a king ship which is not going to be flyable. It's going to be one of those things where you can interact with the king ship, but you can't actually get the controls of the king ship. Like you may be able to board it, but there's not going to be. And they originally were planning on the Vandal not having any interiors. Just couldn't get on them. They'd blow themselves up, as kind of a lore way of saying that you couldn't capture the ships. But yeah, no, Bengals are huge. Like we're talking, apparently the space inside of the hangar of the Bengal could physically hold like an Idris or 2. So that's just the hangar, not even like the rest of the ship. So I can imagine they're having problems with it because it's so big.
I think I imagine something that big, it's probably going to have lots of issues. Not just that, there's so many different mechanics and things, and like I think that's what they've said in some of the ATV in terms of like upping the performances, because first of all they did these pretty explosions with all this rubble and everything else going flying everywhere, and then they're like, shit, we've got to process all of that. Let's take a few of that away and make it slightly less. So, and I think that's going to happen with the same with the big ships when there's going to be so much information.
It's okay. Object container streaming is coming.
Yay! We're going to put them all into these little boxes. You're basically, as Board like to say, your ship's going to be made up like a Lego.
Well, I mean, I hate to burst people's bubble, but they did say that buying ships in game was coming, and that disappeared. So object container streaming is coming and isn't.
Oh God, here comes assault.
Until it is in game, until it's
held off the salt for a little while.
I will wait until it's.
I was about to say how positive he was being this evening as well.
I'm just saying, let's not get too crazy here. Let's not get too crazy.
I might just pull the Bengal in the end. No, sorry, we're not doing the Bengal anymore.
I need to strip 1 second.
Let's go. But to be fair though, a lot of the language that they've been doing recently and stuff is I'm a bit more hopeful. There's not so much kind of. I mean, there's still a little bit pie in the sky, kind of like very positive. We've talked about this, we've talked about that, but they do seem to be a little bit more. Yeah, well, maybe we might not be able to do that. Do you know what I mean? And maybe we'll, and I saw that kind of reality talking is actually, I like that, because it's like, it means that they're actually probably getting to a place where they're, we need to do this, we need to get this done, we need to get this done, we need to get this finished. Do you know what I mean? And I like that language, even though other people might be like, oh, that sucks.
This might be a little off topic, but where the hell did you get that shirt there, Moist?
What is this?
This is one of Saurus's shirts.
It's so awesome.
I know, right?
Hold it up, let's have a look.
It's Teenage Mutant Ninja Xian.
Oh, very cool.
Because they look like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. That's awesome. That is awesome. So yeah. So did anyone watch the board's interview? I watched it briefly today when he interviewed Aaron. It was a good interview.
I got about halfway through it. Unfortunately, I was trying to watch it like while I was doing other things, and then fell asleep.
Well, he was good. I mean, for me, the highlight. I mean, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's a good one. For me, the highlight was like we talked a little bit about it earlier, was the Armistead Zone removal. I think that will be fantastic when you'll be able to see me running around on Olisar. You'll see Madness come dashing across the room, being chased by 5 or 6 UEE soldiers trying to shoot me. That will be brilliant, fun, and entertaining. As you hear me on FOIP shouting as I'm running past.
Fuck the police! Fuck the police!
beat absolutely going. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be absolutely hilarious. But just for shits and giggles, yeah. Could you imagine that? I'd love to shit people up as well. You could like hiding in like dark corners with FOIP. Actually, giving me ideas of like you could really like scare people.
Just
jump out. Jump out.
And then when you have the face tech, you'll be going.
Yeah.
Don't panic. I'm coming for you.
Oh god.
I'm honestly like. Not just that, I'm waiting for that. But the one of the things that's really excited about 3.1 is the addition of surface beacons. And they showed off a little bit of that in ATV. Was it last ATV or the ATV before that where they showed? I think it was last ATV. They showed like you being able to get in.
And didn't Erin mentioned in the interview as well that they weren't entirely sure that they would actually be in for 3.1, dependent on whether they fix some issues.
Yeah, it depends on when they're like if there's a hard release date. If it's like, hey, it's got to be out by the end of March.
Because he was pretty adamant about the release date, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So, which I think is good because again, it comes back to what I was saying next week. I think at the moment they're doing a really good job of managing expectations.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, I mean,
kind of made me happy.
What always happens with CIG, and this is just I don't know if this is something that happens in all gaming or if it's just CIG focused, is beginning of the year, don't expect much, if anything. About June is when you start looking at what they can do, because from June to December is when they release their major patches, and it may just be a coincidence, but like Arena Commander was released around that time. 2.0 was released in November. 3.0 was released in December. It seems like all of their major patches are releasing at in the end of the year rather than the beginning of the year. And I think it's because they do all of their major releases in 6 months, and then they
fix those major releases.
They reorganize to see what went wrong, fix what they have to get wrong structurally, and then move forward. And then they continue that process where like the first 3 or 4 months of the year is just kind of more like maintenance and like reflection, which works, but at the same time it's frustrating because especially as content creators, because it's like you have a built-in 6-month dry spell where you're just like, hey, we know the game's not going to give us another 6 months of entertainment, maybe if we're lucky a month, and now we're gonna have to wait another 5 months for major content. So I can't imagine. I know it's a problem for content creators, but I'm sure your average gamer, I'm sure it's even more frustrating because it's just
it
like
could be worse.
I want to
play. Be waiting an entire year.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose that's it. I mean, like, as Moy said, though, it's more a case of at least they haven't promised it all, or they're not sitting there saying when's it coming. Like the roadmap has definitely been a big thing to help sort of manage that expectation a little bit more. So you're saying, well, like you said, it's dry in the beginning of the month. We know that. We see it. We can see that there's not a ton of stuff promised, apart from fixing and stuff. So we're not sitting there just completely waiting. Because that was a point, wasn't there, there was a long point where people thought that 3.0 was going to be out, and then it's like, no, it's not this month. Is it this month? No, it's not this month. Is it this month? And there's nothing worse than that when you think it's nearly ready and it's not. So having these sort of set releases will hopefully make it a little bit less painful, I thought.
Well, I mean, I get constantly trolled by Major Payne. He's always coming into because he's one of my friends for combat, and he just basically immediately goes, "Have they fixed combat yet?" That's literally the first thing he says to me. Every day I get a message.
And then he just goes,
"Have they fixed combat yet?" And I go, "No, it's still shit. Bye." And then it's like, then I'll get the next day. "Have they fixed combat yet?" "No, it's still shit." And that's literally it.
I work with the SC14, the Saracen Competitive Combat Club, the guys who do we do tournaments and stuff like that.
They're easy to chat now. Sorry.
And they always ask the same questions as well. They always come in and chat, is combat fixed yet? All right, see you in 3 months.
Bye.
Like,
But that's
it
the right
working?
attitude
Nope.
to have, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah.
Rather than sit there whinging about something, just come back in 6 months. You know, it's
Or the next day. It depends on however you do it.
Listen, major pain, then it's like every 10 minutes.
At least you're contributing to the channel's chat. That's fine. I don't have a problem with it.
But no, I do get you.
Yeah.
We, in some ways, we do need more people that are just willing to say, yeah, it's not at the stage I want to play it yet, and just leave it for a bit, rather than keep trying to play it and then saying, why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? I tried 3 days in a row and I've still not got the right FPS. Yeah, just maybe wait more than 3 days. Just saying.
And the other thing that's important to understand is that more than likely the stuff that you see in the roadmap is going to slip. We've already seen it slip.
We've already seen
anything 3.4 and anything like 3.3 and beyond is not guaranteed this year.
yeah.
I wonder how much
I'm fairly confident.
Though, if they had like their feet put like next to some sort of like weapon of some kind. I don't think it would slip that much.
Don't tell Clive. Don't tell Clive.
I for some reason I think
beat
it might.
the shit out of you. Would you actually meet your deadlines? Is that what you're trying to say?
They might have hit a few more of those deadlines if there was a bit more violence at the end of the line. Just saying, maybe, just maybe.
So
they
bring back slave labour, and perhaps we'll get shit done.
The reality is that like this kind of stuff takes time and it's still at that early stage. But so I'm willing. I put money. I guess I didn't put money. I put my own pride on saying that I am almost assured that at least 80% of what they promised will be in the game by the end of the year, and I'm still fairly confident in that. But I do believe that things like anything in 3.4 is up for grabs. Other than the ships and the character development and the character stuff and the weapons, which we know they've already made, any technical aspects, any new gameplay, don't count on it.
I completely agree with you. And when people were not crying, but when people were upset about Bind culling, not making it into 3.1, my first reaction was, guys, I will be surprised if it makes it in before the end of the year, quite frankly. So I'm not surprised, but it will be pleasant if it makes it in before the end of the year, because I'm just assuming that it's going to be pushed back further. You know,
I'm fairly certain that that will actually make it in, and I'm sure that container streaming will make it in. But it's like serialization, which serialization made it into 3.0, but it didn't entirely make it into 3.0. Like
I think they still had testing to do, didn't they?
Yeah. So there's things that will definitely change the how things work in with 3.1 and 3.2, 3.3 and 3.4. Like there will be some significant changes, but we don't know if it'll entirely be in. You know, like for instance, object or item port 2.0 was supposed to completely come in 3.0. Not really. I mean, it's mostly there. It's
you know, I still think with all this stuff that they're kind of like implementing, you know, it's not a magic bullet scenario where one thing fixes. It's obviously multiple things. But then I still think, like, from what I understand from Chris Roberts, it's like literally he'll get it that optimized into a high performance, and then he'll be like, okay, now let's make the kingship fight a Bengal in the game and make that happen. And the guys will be like, oh, for fuck's sake, we can't, you know, hang on, so what do we need? You know, no one's ever done that before. Okay, that's fine. We'll try and build a new system that's
was it Brian that said something along those lines, that when they were doing it for, like, say, the CitizenCon demo or something, it's like when something was running really smooth and I said that's good, he goes, oh well, since that's working fine, add something else to the demo. And they're like, oh, you're kidding me. It's like we've just got this working.
But that's how you push it. That's how you push forward, and that's how you do break boundaries and do things that, because most people are willing to settle for
it works, you know,
and then and there are some people who are like, that's not the vision, you know, the vision's here, and he's one of those people, I think. And yes, okay, it's annoying, and I don't think we always get to that vision, but he's dragging us all along, and we're all just, a few of us are kicking and screaming. I think
you kind of need to balance, though. I think you need his supervision where it's pushing it probably too far, and then you need someone like Aaron does a good job of sort of bringing him back, saying, let's rein it in a little bit, maybe don't get too carried away, because I do think otherwise you just
companies. You have the person who has the dream and really wants to go crazy, and the other person that's kind of realistic. And it's about working well together.
The guy who's a thinker or a dreamer, usually you have someone who's a realist to keep them on their feet on the ground now and again. You let them go like a air balloon, you know what I mean? You just pull them up and then you just bring them down a little bit. And vice versa, that person kind of brings the person who's a realist up as well and gets them into a place they didn't realize before. Just quickly, to chat, by the way, we do a system slightly different to a few other podcasts. We will go through questions as we go along. So if you exclamation question or put brackets question, we prefer it if you do the form, and we will read it out as we're doing it so we can kind of have topics of conversation. So we'll do it all at the same time.
I really just want to respond to what Matt Sherman just said in chat. He said Star Citizen isn't really a project about taking what's already made. Most of the cool stuff we're doing on the project is being set up because it hasn't really been done in the Man of the Boss Man. Like, the whole thing I love about the project, like, I wouldn't really be interested in the project if it wasn't for, like, all the really cool things that are coming out. And at the end of the day, it's like moons, planets were never supposed to be in the game originally. And I believe it's because somebody showed Chris like a demo of what was possible that ultimately it ended up in the game. And this is just what I love.
It's because they actually hired the original creators of the CryEngine who were like, hey, we actually had a concept of doing procedural generation a long time ago and like huge scale. And now they actually were given the green light to do that, and it's like, oh, hey, it works, and Chris liked it, I guess. But
and here's the budget as well. Here you go, and here's a couple $100 million or whatever to go make it happen as well.
I really don't like poo-pooing on other games because I am aware of the fact that a lot of people put a lot of love, time, and effort into developing games. But I'm going to use Far Cry 5 as an example. I'm not excited. I know a lot of people are excited for Far Cry 5, but I'm not. And the reason I'm not is because, you know what? I played Ghost Recon. Exactly. I played Ghost Recon Wildlands. I played Far Cry Primal. I played
Far Cry 4,
what was
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's all the same mechanics every time. It's just rinse, repeat. I want something different.
Since Far Cry 3, it's been the same plot, the same stuff over and over again.
Assassin's Creed, like the Hawk mode in Assassin's Creed is the drone mode from Ghost Recon Wildlands, and that's my issue with a lot of AAA games at the moment. I think that's why I'm excited for Star Citizen.
I was going to agree that there is a lot of new stuff. Now, to say that everything is brand new is and I think a lot of people overboard, like Star Citizen's breaking boundaries and doing stuff that's brand new. It's like, it's not brand new. It's just not been done the way or together. Like, there have been other games that use cloud technology. We've got oh god, I can't remember the name of that game. It was like airships where you explore different airships, and it's a PvP game.
Oh, I know the one that you're on about, but I can't remember what it's called.
Hitachi was playing that before, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was played a lot of it back in the day. Worlds Adrift uses the Google Cloud server-based technology to kind of like do the same thing that Star Citizen wants to do with object container streaming, and even Sea of Thieves is also using the Microsoft Azure cloud platform to do something similar. However, a couple of floating islands in a big map and a couple of islands in a sea of maps with beautiful ocean is not what Star Citizen's going for. It's that on crack. It's like, oh yeah, that may be a planet like that. Then we're going to have 100 other planets that are going to be completely different. Oh, by the way, we're not dealing with a couple hundred people per server. We're dealing with thousands of people per server because we're going to have one big server. So it's what Star Citizen is an R&D wet dream for games. Is all it is. Yeah. It's a giant. It's almost as if they were building their own engine, and this was the game they're building to show off the engine that they could sell it. It's almost like that kind of thing.
One of the reasons that I got really excited when I found out that Amazon bought correct me if I'm wrong, it was a particular type of license for, I think it was the same license that SIG bought for CryEngine, right?
Yeah, more than that.
That's what they use to create
Lumberyard.
And it's because like they are able to then, their developers are then able to develop technology to work with their own cloud server tech. And generally that means an awful lot for the future of online gaming, you know. And it's, again, it comes down to what I'm excited about with Star Citizen. It's just pushing good stuff.
People have been talking about cloud technology for at least 5 to 10 years since its inception. and about how it could change the way games are made. No one's gave a shit. And now finally companies are catching up with the idea of what you can actually do with the cloud in terms of how you can make games, especially online games. I think CIG is pushing that kind of thing even more. So it's important to understand that like a lot of the stuff we're seeing is stuff that's never been done before in the way that they've been doing it. That's the reason why they have 500 employees or something like that, 400 and something employees.
Yep.
Working on it.
Yeah, and it's ever expanding as well, because you need the talent, you need the people. Just a quick one. I was going to say, we got a question here from the Nut and Special. What a great name. He says, will there be ever be a remote connection between the Moby Glass and the player ships in order to unlock doors and energize ship systems?
I think that's part of the plan.
Yeah.
Like
I think so.
Your Moby Glass is your UI. Other than your ship UI, you have your Moby Glass. And so I think your Moby Glass is going to be connected to your ship and to other people. Like, there is no UI really that you can interact with other than the Moby Glass. It's like your menu or whatever.
Well, they've already improved it, so we're going to be able to read it better, which is great. And I think they'll continue to improve it with more
That would be
features.
nice. Here's your UI, but you can't read it.
I don't want to stab this even more. So, did they finally add a background filter so that you can have a slightly different color, so you don't have to like find the darkest corner in the game to read your UI?
Everybody looks shady as fuck because they've all gone to a corner to look at their Moby Glass.
Everyone looks like Miz. You can't tell who's Miz because he's not. Because
That's it. Get out! I'm fed up with people coming to my corner. Just get out! This is mine. I'm in the Astro pub. This is my corner now. Leave me alone.
Everyone's huddled in a corner like a bunch of smokers looking at their Moby Glass. But speaking of the like, for me, I can't wait for them to be able to do it so that I don't have to look at my Moby Glass when I get onto my ship. The ship HUDs do the information rather than my Moby Glass. I just it does my head in every time I get on my ship. There's a lot of things that need to be fixed in terms of like locations and like figuring out where you want to go. I'd like to be able to pre-plan my destination tracker so I can literally have it all marked out for me to go, rather than having to spend. I can do offline and then get in, and my Moby Glass like updates the computer, and it goes updated, and then the information is logged in, and it brings up all the markers of where I want to go, and then I take off and go bang, bang, and I fly off. I'd love to do that before and with the HUD in the ship as well, and on my Moby Glass, whichever one. But I can't wait for far more complicated travel mapping and planning, which will be great.
Mr. Zed sent me. Sorry, carry on.
No, go.
No, I was just going to say, Mr. Zed sent me a screenshot of while we were talking about development of like development times of different games, and I don't want to hammer this home too much because this conversation has been had.
If this is the screenshot, before. I think it is. The one weird thing about that is that I actually posted that to the Star Citizen Reddit 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, and they bombed you for it, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly. And like, I think something that a lot of people forget is
I posted that 3-4 years ago.
There we go. I think something a lot of people forget is Star Citizen. Like, I've been a part of small companies that have grown, and people forget that, you know, as a small company, your work time sometimes gets taken away by silly things like building a desk, building a chair, and you don't just start off with 485 employees or whatever it is that Star Citizen Cloud Imperium Games has now. You know, it's something that builds up over time. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that whole graph.
It's a great graph. I think it does justice of explaining that, you know, Star Citizen at the end of the day really should get their socks in gear because they're getting close towards the end of some of these other games in terms of the time frame. So I'll give them the leeway of 3 years for building the studios, and then and then 3 years now. We're basically, I would say, at 3 years rather than the 6 years or whatever. We're in the 6th year. I'll give them the 3 years to build the studios and staff up. And then now it's like, let's just start 0, and they're like halfway.
Well, the other thing to point as well is that a lot of those things, when they're like Elder Scrolls Online, what makes Elder Scrolls Online unique? It's setting. That's it. It's essentially the same kind of game you see with like a WoW clone, but it has some various changes to it. And now, of course, you have to build that from the ground up. But when you have a basic structure like that, you're using a lot of borrowed techniques and style as well as borrowed ideas. So it's not too bad. Same with the Old Republic. Same with Guild Wars 2. Same with Team Fortress 2 is a little different.
What's the percentage of different would be the way I'd look at it, because not all
Yeah.
of Star Citizen, like we mentioned, not all of Star Citizen is completely unique. There are parts that are pretty standard, but there's a lot of parts that aren't though completely
the parts that are pretty standard are the ones that we already have.
Yeah.
Ships and character designs.
Well, Aaron said on his interview, though, he was saying that a lot of the systems and a lot of the things like ship decaling and there's a lot of stuff is feature done and it kind of works, but they just don't have the UI to get it to work, which is kind of, I thought it was really interesting. You know, he's saying like to make it so that the average Joe, so it's a simpleton like me, can actually figure out how to do it and it's not overly complicated. So, which I find quite hilarious because most of the stuff they do.
I was going to say, I don't know why they worry about that when you've got about 6 different keyboard layouts.
Yeah, I know. I'm like,
just
really?
chuck some more at us, it'll be fine.
Maybe you need to hire some people who are really good at UI. But then maybe that just explains how complicated the game is. But he was saying like the UI, that's a lot of the things are there, they're ready to go. They're just not able to get it to work for us.
If I recall correctly, and anyone who's in CIG can correct me if I'm wrong, they only hired a UI team a year or two ago, because before that it was Zane. Zane was their UI guy. And when they started expanding to 2.0 and 3.0, they realized that having Zane do every single bit of the UI on his own is stupid, and they needed more people. So so they started hiring people internally and externally to work on the UI. And so the problem about that in a video game or any project, and anyone who's worked on a project knows that if you hire someone for a project, it takes a few months to get them up to speed, and then
they don't just drop in and understand exactly what you're all up to. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, just to get them through human resources can sometimes take a few months. Like my wife's insurance, and for the company she works for, she's worked there for almost a year now, but her health insurance didn't kick in for 3 months until after she got hired. So that's the kind of like the disparity of how that works is pretty great in terms of starting to work and then actually being effective at your work. So what we may be seeing is that a lot is done, but now that the UI team is more staffed and more up to speed, we're now starting to see the results of having a larger UI team. Same things with things like network coding and other things. Just because you have to hire people and it takes them a while to get up to speed, there's a lag time between hiring people and getting to do the job.
And there's still the issue of obviously multiple studios around the world, different time zones, and then there's the technology, like we know, like render to texture and all these other features and stuff that still needs to be finished and polished and working properly and all that stuff which comes in. And I mean, I'm learning on the job. Like I'm learning how it all happens, and it's been fascinating for me to see, because I always just like, as a complete noob, kind of going, oh, I kind of have an idea, but I'm like, now it's like, oh wow, I know so much more that I didn't know before about game development and game making. It's scary, actually. I don't know everything, because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. But it was it's certainly been so far really interesting to watch how it's been made. Yes,
and
yes.
I think we're even. I don't know. I'd be really curious to kind of see. Actually, Jay Lee. I think Jay Lee's streams. I don't know how frequently he's streaming at the moment, because I haven't seen him.
I haven't seen him online much. I think he's buried in work.
But he was starting to do podcasts with other developers from other studios, and I haven't seen any of them there. But I was really keen to watch.
He's done like 3 or 4 episodes.
I was really keen to have the kind of viewpoint of comparing what working for SIG is like compared to working for other developers.
They don't talk about they're just developers. They don't talk about
really.
They don't talk about. They made a very specific point not to talk about anything to do with Star Citizen. It's just developers chatting, which is kind of cool if you like that sort of thing.
I will say, from my experience talking with developers from Star Citizen who've worked for other companies, CIG is a very different company to work for.
Okay.
Only because in other development studios, you really you put the time and effort in at a level, and you eventually will move up the ranks. But there's a lot of like you have to prove yourself, and there's a lot of temporary employees who work for a company like Blizzard or a company like Activision or EA. Well, they work for a certain number of months and then they're gone because they don't want to have to afford lots of other little things. Star Citizen doesn't do that. Like CIG, when they hire someone, they're expecting that person to be a long-term investment, that they're going to be not only doing their job, but they may be looking to improve themselves to get another job. Like I know Underscore, for instance. I've known Underscore since before he worked for CIG, and he currently works with QA on the tech side of the network side of things. And he's working towards working for the network engineers, being a network engineer for CIG.
Yeah.
But that takes time and effort and money, and lots of other little issues like that.
A few people,
and,
haven't we, kind of climbed the ladder and changed jobs as they've been
Like,
in there? Yeah.
I know Bayer of Red. He works for customer service, but he may eventually work for balancing and that kind of stuff because that's what he likes to do, and he made no bones about that when he came to work for them. There's lots of people like that who've talked about their experiences at CIG and how it's very different from their experiences working for, because it's very disconnected as well. Like most other developers, the programmers and the art team and the QA they're separate teams and they don't talk a lot together.
Yeah, that's
whereas in
weird
CIG they have the mixed, where like they're all into with each other. You know, a QA guy has an idea, gets up, stands up, walks over to someone who's programming, he gives them an idea, and then they talk about it, and you know, they have meetings that they go to often where they talk with each other. So it's much more.
That explains the delays right there. Lots of meetings.
Lots of meetings. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it.
I can tell you the number of times that people, if you're like just wasting time, managers love to waste time with meetings. Honestly, in my history, in any job I've ever worked in, literally, it's a justification of position is a meeting. Anyone says to me it's not, I'm sorry. It's just you can have one meeting once every 2 weeks maximum, not every fucking other day to talk about stuff. It's like doing a podcast every other day. Come on.
And then you get like the designer going into the network engineer bloke saying, "Do you know what? I think you should do it this way." And he's going, "Just fuck off."
Just get lost. I know.
Go and design something.
So I'm just gonna roll this quickly into some kind of like some highlights as well. So we have guys, have you seen the Trump hair on Reddit?
I thought you were talking about my hair for a second.
Photoshop.
I was like, that's hilarious. I was thinking, who actually mocapped, like who actually did the scanning of Trump? Let's see if Trump is actually going to come into gaming.
I looked at that, and someone told me that was a photoshopped like of one of the hairstyles. So I don't know if that's true or not.
That was amazing. The whole thing that I'm excited about, I noticed with the character creator, is there's black/blue hair. Which makes me happy. We can't see it.
Fuck you. It's so good. Like, it's already like people.
You don't know why you put it into yours. Yours is storm cloudy. So...
Love it. Yeah. So we're gonna have them. We should have the moist haircut in game. That will be the.
It's already in game.
Actually, moist. Just face this way for a second. Someone screenshot it, and then we can do another Photoshop and just call it something than Trump. We'll just call it the moist.
The moist. Get the moist. Get your moist look. Okay, and then the other Reddit thing that I saw was amazing this day is this guy's been doing these wind tunnel videos.
Oh, I saw this.
Now he did this is the thing is that he did a wind tunnel of a reclaimer, and I was like, what is the fucking point? It's a brick.
It's a brick.
Like,
yeah.
That's what the wind tunnel shows. It's a brick.
It's not a performance feature, but then there was a saber one, so I put both of them in here. So there's one for that. It's really, actually, I was like, that's quite cool. I watched it a couple later on in the video. It gets really cool when you see the side views and stuff, and I was a bit like, it might not even be real, but it just looks great with all the, it just looked cool. So if you haven't seen it, definitely go check out Reddit. I'm sure we can find a link somewhere, or we should just link you from the text. But yeah, go check them out. They're really, really cool. To the saber one and the reclaimer.
I suppose by doing the reclaimer, it's just showing you how not streamlined it is.
Yeah,
showing why it needs
compared to
big
the saber where
thrusters.
it doesn't.
Well, do you know what? It made me interested because I was watching it, kind of going, I wonder if because there will be atmosphere in game. There will be that kind of stuff.
There is atmosphere in game on Daymar.
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to be more atmosphere. There's going to be more clouds. There's going to be more things to kind of to deal with and stuff. And they talk about the ships, being affected and jittering and jumping around and stuff over the ATVs in the past. And so when I see this stuff, it's actually quite cool because then you could, understand how your ship's working, and maybe there'll be ways to tweak your ship to be more effective in atmosphere, which would be kind of cool. Like you could actually tweak parts of the wings.
Get out there and start smashing part of your ship apart to make it more aerodynamic.
Yeah. Well, maybe not doing that, but maybe you could. Maybe there'll be like little things that we'll be able to in the future be able to have, like adjust the wing tips slightly. That
Shoot holes in the wings.
Yeah, like put a big fin on the back, or something.
You're trying to tell me you want to put a spoiler on your spaceship to make it go faster.
Well,
and paint the racing stripe.
This
down
isn't
it.
Need for Speed.
Is that what you're trying to tell me? You want?
Well, I sent a link to. This is one of my favorite film scenes. It's one underneath in the attachment, which you'll see in the Google document. This is one of my favorite scenes, and I've always loved this scene where the it's under the saber, the point of the atmosphere impacts on the ships and the way they move. And this is, I've always said this before, this is the alien drop ship when it drops in to the planet, and you go through the kind of the smoke and stuff. So if you can find it, Ms.
It's on it.
Awesome. Yeah, so this is I just love this scene in Alien when they come in and you go through the smoke and everything, and the ship's kind of rattling around, and I can't wait for this in Star
That
Citizen.
sort of feedback.
Now I need to watch Alien again.
Do you know what I mean? I just love all that, and yeah, it's just really cool, really really cool.
I mean, again, this is what we've talked about a few times, haven't we? How we're kind of looking forward to the weather that's going to be in the game, and it'd be interesting to see how that kind of affects trying to fly through in atmosphere when you've got these different storms brewing and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, because they showed like the rain on the windscreen, and so we talked about rain before and stuff. You know, you can't see shit. You know, and just all of that kind of good stuff. So you know, we know that the Reclaimer, because we're talking about the Reclaimer, and the Reclaimer is basically the Nostromo, you know, re-envisioned in the game. So yeah, that's just kind of cool. I just thought it was very cool.
I thought you liked
sneeze
all those missile pods coming out of the thing.
Yeah. Well, I like that too, right? Like, that's very cool. But and here's a question for you guys: do you think there will be primitive civilizations in the game?
Oh yeah.
I hope so. I really
There is in lore. You brought the lore guy on, so yeah, I'll talk about the lore. In lore,
I just almost as if I got you in perfectly with that one. It's almost like it was planned.
So there is I don't know the species, but there is a planet that has primitive sentience that has been locked off from all because of the Fair Chance Act. So it's in a system, and the problem is that system also has some rare animal that people like to keep as pets. So poachers come in and steal these animals and then try to like get out of there, but it's being observed by scientists over a certain planet, and they have a marine detachment that's there to take care of the poachers who try to come in. Because there's also a training like a military training outpost there as well on like a moon or like a desolate planet that's nearby. So.
And we've seen it on the advert for the Constellation, where you see the kind of the weird creature kind of things on the planet, and then the Constellation kind of comes in and stuff. And I was like, well, the clue is in the advert. I was like,
there's definitely gonna be at least one, if not multiple, like primitive species that you can interact with that you're not supposed to interact with. Like if you get caught by the UEE, you're going to go to jail. At best, if not just
Can we
shot
go and
on
give
sight.
them a gun, and you know, when they're sitting there hitting things with their bow, and you just go and just drop a gun by them and say, "I have some fun," and see how long they stay primitive for. This is subsumption at its best. See how well it takes them before they start developing shit with the shoot everybody.
It depends how pretty the aliens is, because you know there's going to be one really lonely, bored pilot or someone out there who's been on their own for a long time, and they'll be like, oh. You know, that's how we have Neanderthal. That's how we have Neanderthal blood in our DNA. Because there was one guy who was like, well, I'm a bit bored, and yeah, that'll do. Or I had a few too many drinks the night before. I woke up the next day and went, oh, that was a mistake. The next question I have is about interdiction, actually going back to it. Speaking of interdiction, do you think it would be plausible, this was from Boot Therapy, do you think it will be plausible for even Fair or a fighter ship to take on and win against much larger ships by outmaneuvering them and eventually getting through their shield? Where is the balance line to go, well, this tiny thing can't possibly win against something 10 times its size, even if it's a cargo hauler like a Hull series? Discuss.
So I think that's kind of like saying if you've got, I don't know, for example, a size 6 shield that's super powered up with a massive power plant and everything else, a size 1 gun shouldn't be able to shoot fast enough to get through it, I suppose, is kind of what they're saying with that.
At a certain point, I think there should be, not every ship is going to be able to destroy every other ship.
Yeah.
There's going to be a point in which something is just going to be impervious to any small arms fire. Like think of a tank. A tank doesn't give a shit about 50 caliber rounds. You could fire, or most tanks don't give a shit about 50 caliber rounds. You could fire as much, you could just pepper the thing with thousands of bullets, and it'll take hours to actually break through. Like even if you hit the exact same spot with,
But that's where you have
ridiculous
armor
numbers.
That's where you have armor piercing rounds. So then you upgrade your gun to a different gun that can then penetrate the hull of a tank.
Yeah, but that's what you're saying.
But
if you've got a ship that can't take that different gun, like I agree. I do think there should be a point where you can't just go and get the smallest ship and take on the biggest ship all by yourself, just because it's a cargo holder and can't fight back or something. I think that has to be a point.
Yeah. However, there is also a point in which you're going to have people taking, because the problem is right now we don't really have resource management in the game, and by resource management I mean shields. I mean power plants. I mean weapons. There's going to be heat buildup. There's going to be shield problems. You're going to have the shields are going to take power. Your systems take power. Your weapons take power. Not everything is probably going to have the ability to be 100%. You can't have 100% shields, 100% weapons, 100% systems, 100% engines, and 100% maneuvering thrusters all at once. There's going to have some power balance in between them. And as a result, you may want to, in order to get the 100%, you may want to drop the size of something. And if you're in a hauler and your biggest advantage is speed, straight line speed, shields might be the thing you want to drop. So you get, instead of having a level 6 shield, you have a level 4 shield, so it doesn't use as much power. It's still a good shield, but now you're more vulnerable to smaller ships. You see what I mean? Like there needs to be that kind of gameplay and trade-off.
Yeah, I mean, if you had the biggest ship and didn't put a shield on it, then yes, a small ship should be able to destroy it, sort of thing.
And then you could potentially upgrade your engines, so to a certain point, so you can have
a small ship wouldn't catch you up.
That generate more power system, so you invest more in your ship, which is again the whole point of what they want to get to is this relationship between you and something. Your ship is special to you because you've invested huge amounts of your earnings and profit in making the ship even better, more specific. This is my dandelion ship or whatever you want to call it. This is my special ship, a Calder, and I don't want to lose it. And it's the fastest ship, the cargo ship I have, and it's beautifully upgraded. The balance, like you say, is perfect. You know how to fly it really well, and I hope that I'm sure.
So, are you talking about having a cargo ship called Dandelion is like the funniest thing ever?
I don't know. I was playing The Witcher, and I remember the character, and he's called Dandelion, and so that kind of character, and I was thinking he's a bit of a kind of, he is what he is. And so, that's where that came from. If anyone's curious, my brain just went away with me. So, it ended up in The Witcher for some reason. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention when we were talking. I went right back to the very beginning. I went to a Bar Citizen, which was amazing. So
that's what I was prodding to when I was asking you what you got up to this week.
I completely forgot about it.
I believe you got a medallion.
I did, and hang on, carry on. I'll be back. Carry on. Answer the next. Yes. What were we saying? Oh, about large ship. I do think those smaller ships should be able to damage. If you're a good pilot, like we're saying, I do think like my Saber should be able to terrify a big ship because I'm a really good pilot. Maybe not kill it, but I could maybe disable it, slow it down, make it an annoyance, so that maybe my other friends could come and help me. Do you know what I mean? But killing it, maybe not. I don't think a Saber should. Yeah, hull C. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I'll be back.
We'll wait. Should we just all wait?
Just wait in awkward silence. I think that's what we should do.
We can't talk with that madness here. There was another question, so we'll ask that while he's gone. We as fans of Star Citizen have watched as the game has developed with many "oh my fucking god" moments along the way. With the way so much more information about what's coming ahead, do you guys expect to see any more reveals that strike people that way? And if so, what area of the game do you think they might occur in? So I suppose what he's saying is, before we didn't have...
What OMG moments are we going to see? It's like what reveals? Full mission integration, when you have full mission systems set up, that seem to be dynamic. Massive capital ship on capital ship fights. So not like an Idris versus an Idris, but like 4 Idrises and a Javelin versus 2 Hammerheads and 2 Idrises and a Polaris just at each other in game at real time with fighters flying around and trying to fight each other. That kind of situation. And I think we're also going to see when jump points get added. And
we haven't heard anything on them for a long time.
And just good exploration, like not just jump points, but jump points and like landing on like jungles and planets, or in tundra, or like the variety you'll see. Because I think that's the biggest thing that makes Star Citizen unique compared to other games. Like Elite Dangerous has landing on moons. That's fantastic. Problem is, they're just different shades of different browny Earth colors.
This
There's
is
really
the thing
no.
that I'm actually really excited for, is actually landing on a planet, not a moon, and seeing grass and seeing bushes and trees and
Animals,
rabbits with weird shaped ears.
2 heads.
I don't know.
Like people want to play this game for massive capital ship battles. People want to play this game for exploration, and I think people want to play this game for the dynamic nature of it. And also people are looking for, like, what's the point? Why do I play this game? What's my goal? And other than, my goal is whatever I feel like, it should also be things like, hey, I'm gonna go max out my rep with this one group so I can get this cool, sweet looking rifle or ship or whatever. Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of OMG moments that we all know about, but we haven't seen. Like, actually seeing a full-on capital ship battle, actually seeing pirates disable and steal someone's ship or steal someone's stuff.
He's on about, like, because we've been told it, he's feeling like, is that going to take it away from it? But I don't think it is. I think some of these things, like, when we see them, they are going to still be like, oh my god, that's amazing.
It's just the third question you're going through. Yeah.
And I suppose in terms of not things that we haven't been told, there may be elements in, say, like Squadron 42, because they're trying to keep that under wraps. In the same way as when we get concept ships, like, you don't hear anything about it, and all of a sudden there's like, oh, look, this is what's coming out. So I think there's still potential, and it probably may be more planet-side things that we don't know about that would give you those sort of moments as well, I think.
Well, I mean, I added to the document because today, we're kind of having it's a pretty good chatty show. I added to a thing about, like, what sort of planets we would like to see in this game, and I watched a film. It's not a great film, but the comic is amazing. I think it's a French comic, Valerian, City of a Thousand Worlds, something like a City of a Thousand Worlds, something like that, and it's not like I said, it's not a great film, but visually it's stunning, and the world that they created is amazing, and it's sci-fi, it's fantastic. So all the sort of things I really enjoy, and there's kind of two kind of things that I really liked about it. The first one was the first planet that you see, like this beautiful ocean, perfect world, where people live in tranquility and all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, I want to have my 600i on this place, or my 890 jump. I want to have this kind of, like, amazingly beautiful world. But then the other one was they have this huge city in Space City. So rather than just, like, we've got a planet, which is a city. And I was like, that's pretty cool. But I was thinking, I wonder if they will do a space station that is like a world of all the alien, like of many aliens as well. So they have this an enormous space station, which was...
That does exist in lore.
Hmm.
It's called the Arc Station.
Is that what it's called? Okay, cool.
Uh-huh.
How
It's
big
a
is
giant.
this thing?
It's a giant library in space that has all the collected knowledge of the Banu, the Xi'an, and humanity.
Mhm.
They invited even the Vandul to bring their knowledge if they wanted to, but they haven't. They refused to.
Okay.
And Tavaran. So they have these collected works of, like, ancient literature to modern poetry and political discussion. And the station itself is designed as kind of like a floating Babylon 5, where people are, like, as or Star Citizen Babylon 5, where they have all of these different species that come in and exchange knowledge and work with each other and kind of stuff. So it exists, but it's only fairly recently that it was built and, like, it created in its inception. So
Yeah, this is just watching some of the clips then of them coming into the city and
It's
stuff.
huge.
And they talk about all they did. That's just I've shortened it down, but they talked about the actual the
formation,
the species. So you have the ocean species and all the kind of underwater kind of species that are there. Then they have, like, the robotic species, and then they have, like, the humans, and then they all have their different roles for the
different
city.
section within the city.
Yeah. And I was just like, because we've seen, like I said, you're talking about the wow moment for me. seeing like going to that type of a place and just flying in on like it doesn't have to, it can be on rails, it's fine, I don't mind being flown in and then just like it getting taken over and then flying in like in like Independence Day when they go on the mothership and stuff and you just like holy moly, do you know what I mean? I would love that as well. That for me is what space sci-fi is as well. It's about these enormous like the Death Star and these huge space structures. I really hope they implement some of those.
Yeah,
if you say they're there in lore, then they should be there, right?
Mm-hmm. Beryl just point out. In fact, if you look at the star map says it's from the Ark because that's where all the star maps for the galaxy are kept.
It's at the Ark station. Quite cool.
Actually, see, because I don't read the lore that much. Maybe I should do. I think it's something I should get into.
I will say, if you're going to read the lore, it's very complicated, and you have to put a lot. You basically have to like.
Once.
It's difficult. That's the reason why. Yeah. It's the reason why I created Galactic Historian was because like a lot of people just don't watch. They need pictures. We need pictures.
I need a comic book version. Comic
book
version. Someone, if there's a comic book artist out there, can CIG maybe like can someone hire them and they can do like a full Star Citizen? Maybe we should do like a Dungeons and Dragons lore kind of character thing, and then we could kind of create like a role-playing tabletop
game,
Star Citizen game. How about that?
I think that's one of the reasons why the ATV was so effective for a lot of people, because like since the ATV came out about optimization and stuff like that, I have seen very little people being like, but my netcode and my performance. It's like people are like ATV. And again, the reason what they did
more technical than it needed to be, but I'm glad that they did because it shut up a lot of people.
But they also had pictures.
Yes.
Lots of pictures. Yeah. Which is good. Show me the pictures. Yeah. Pictures is easy because people go, I have no idea what you're talking about. And you show them pictures and like, I still have no idea what you're talking about, but I see pictures and I kind of understand that.
Yes. I don't think that helped Madness though, to be fair.
That's because you fell asleep before the pictures came on.
As I said before, more pictures so people can understand it.
Pictures, yeah. I mean, that's what ATV was. Yeah,
I think RTV was more effective for me because they really dumbed it down in RTV.
Yeah, I need the pop-up version. Literally,
I can give you a pop-up version, don't you?
I need the pop-up version in most lives, in every scenario. I need a pop-up version.
It's a little pop-up book.
Yeah, Kivixton, I don't know why that would offend me. The Smithsonian is amazing. It's a ridiculous museum where you can touch things and look at stuff, and it's amazing. If you've never been, you should go. Everyone should go. If you go to the United States,
can I rub things?
And so this is your. Is that
kind of like the Science Museum that we have in London? Is a bit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, by the way, chat. By the way, feel free to link. I think I just realized it's not my chat, but throw in some links if you've got other worlds that you guys or comments and stuff that you guys have of worlds. Obviously, keep it clean, guys. Of worlds,
not that world.
Like.
He's hoping for boobs, really.
If you've got those
scum and villainy. Scum and villainy.
I mean, like obviously, Blade Runner world we've kind of seen with kind of Hurston and stuff. They've kind of looks like they get that thing going on there, which is great. We know about the alien.
I think this is one of the things again that I'm quite excited for because they're taking inspiration from lots of different worlds in sci-fi. We could all realistically live in our favorite type of environment.
Yeah.
So it's actually a really smart move.
I don't. Okay? So which is the one that if you could only
Blade Runner is my favorite movie.
What world you're already Hurston then, or world Blade Runner world then?
Our core. Yeah. Well, no, I guess Hurston's kind of like that, yeah.
Is it? No, not Hurston. What's the one that they showed on the main city one that they showed us? Is that ArcCorp?
So ArcCorp is like Coruscant. It's like a city planet, and then
you've got the whole planet is a city, yeah.
And then you've got Hurston is like a giant industrial waste zone. Like everything is just been like blasted because they just they polluted the crap out of that planet.
So that's the bad part of like Blade Runner 2, the new one we've seen, which is you see the kind of the irradiated zone.
Kind of, yeah.
With all the dust and that, yeah.
And then Microtech is the frozen planet that has like dome cities that keep that. And then Microtech is where they make the mobile glass. And then Crusader is the one that's the Cloud City, where it's actually built in the gas giant. Cool. Yeah.
And then we've got the Coil, which is whatever which we've seen. That's pretty cool. And then we've got now the library place that you mentioned, which I'm really excited about now.
You also don't even you probably even heard of Synth World. Synth World is where they've been trying to build a planet out of rocks, like out of asteroids and stuff. Like they've been building it, been trying to like get it to like form together and then solidify and be a planet.
Lots of glue, and pour more rocks and a bit more glue. Try and build a planet.
It's been going on for a couple hundred years, and it's just not worked properly yet. They call it the money sink because it's just a giant like waste of time for a lot of people. But the idea was that if they could figure out how to make a synth world, then it would be like terraforming. Like then you could just build your own planets. So
very cool, very, very cool. And then what else do we have? What other planets do we have? Anyone else?
I would be down for not necessarily, because the thing is that what I really like about the planets is that there's not just biomes. It's not just like one jungle planet, you know. Having like tundra and mountains and forests and jungles and savanna and just like I don't even know what other kind of biomes are, like deserts and like high plains and like high deserts.
Those places though that you mentioned like that are much more like a kind of Earth typical. You know what I mean? Because the reality is that when you go to like Venus or whatever, or these other in our system, they're all very much one type, aren't they? It's like
not too much. For instance, Mars we know has several different biome zones, including the blue sands. They have an entire area of Mars which is just blue sand. And there are like the plains, and then there are rocky mountainous areas. And the reason why it seems like everything's just similar is because it's dead and there's no water. But if we were to, like, say, for instance, terraform Mars, it would look very different. Simply, you don't even have to change the terrain. The water would fill in the lower areas, and which would cause growth, and then you'd have a very different looking planet compared to what we already have for Mars. In general, I'm excited to see, because I think the idea of a one biome planet seems very lazy sci-fi. Like, Pandora is this big jungle planet. Coruscant is a big Tatooine is nothing but a desert planet. It's like,
it's kind of what we're used to in other games
as
well, isn't it? Because you don't normally get to explore the whole planet. So,
but the
example was this is a desert planet. Yeah,
it's funny that you mentioned Pandora, because Langdon W actually asks you specifically, Astro, is there an Avatar type planet?
That's what I was just showing for the pictures, but
that's what he was just saying.
They were from Avatar.
But I don't know. I think they're the closest thing to an Avatar planet would be Green, which is a water planet. It's jungle, like tropical jungles mostly about it, but it's so filled with water that like most people build above the water. Like they have like platforms above the water that they build on. If you ever played the Murray Cup, that's Murray Cup racing that's Green. It's the planet you're on.
Okay.
So
everything's kind of like hovered up.
Good to know. No, I think that I agree with what you're saying in terms of being lazy, but then at the same time, I think to myself, this is a computer game, and they to make. I mean, I'm sure that sure they want to. They've already talked about having weather systems in different kind of regions and stuff, and making things, which I think is fantastic. But I think they will have to do. I'm sure they'll have to do some degree of one planet or one planetoid does, like we already have it. It's like literally go over the other. They have to.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's a bad thing, but that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something like the CitizenCon 2016 demo where they showed like, this is kind of like a desert mixed with a savanna, and there's some mountains and like the various degrees of biomes. Like the idea of me going to a planet and going, hey, I need a job, and the mission giver's like, sure, you can go hunt this guy in the Badlands, and you have to like go from this temperate forest or like grassland area, and you have to go out into this desert and find this bad guy. Like that's kind of cool.
Get the right equipment and make sure you're prepared for that sort of adventure.
get on my Dragonfly with a bunch of other guys and go from seeing the transition from grassland to desert as we go out into the desert to look for the guy.
I mean, with you, I really hope we get stuff like that, because that's what's kind of making the moons a bit boring at the moment, is because they're the same all over. So you don't feel like there's anything to explore. If you actually feel like you're getting those transitions, if you feel like you're going from somewhere that's cold to hot, or it feels more like you're exploring. And I suppose it's also because it's in our heads. It's what we're used to in our own countries, to have that sort of difference. Not quite so extreme, but we're used to seeing that on our own planet. So I suppose for us that feels more natural to have different biomes within the planets.
Well, I mean, I know we only saw one movie, so we've only saw the forest part of Pandora, so I wouldn't be surprised if they talked about the ocean part of Pandora, and they've talked about other parts of Pandora.
Well, they did actually mention in that movie that there were different tribes that were in, I believe, desert, and there were like the ocean tribe and the horsey tribe and stuff like that. So
yeah,
the horsey tribe that live in the
horsey
lands.
tribe.
Yeah,
horsey tribe.
Oh, am I the only person here in the world, well, generally in the world, that's actually excited for the next Avatar movie? I actually liked Avatar.
I liked Avatar.
Yeah.
I did.
Massive. I watched the movie. Good. Like, I was in LA in the Grove, and I watched it like 2-3 times. I just kept going back. I was on holiday, and I just kept spending most of my time in the Grove watching.
Everyone I know just keeps ripping into it, and I'm like, I enjoyed it.
No, I loved it. It was great. I came out of that movie depressed at the fact that the world was really boring by comparison. I was just like,
I want that.
I came out of the movie thinking I was a hippie, and now I work for a recycling company.
That movie inspired you.
Dreams come true.
Dreams come true. Dreams come true.
Don't let your movies be dreams.
And now you're on here. It can't get any better. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to kind of highlighted, really. What we got? Hang on. You guys... here we go. Oh, yeah, Miz, there's a great one of you flying.
Yeah,
this chap, I think, was flying.
You might want to show that one.
This is a great picture of Star Citizen. If no one's seen this, it's brilliant. This was... I wasn't sure. I wanted to just double check if Miz actually was the pilot behind this video clip, because this is freaking hilarious.
Probably
a little bit of light humor.
Oh, they got nothing on my flying, to be fair.
Literally, he was on. Yeah.
There you go. So you're on about this guy up here.
Yeah, this guy on the top. He's in an 85X. Oh.
But to be honest though, like, I've done that so many times, but at the moment I just bounce off the planet. So otherwise, I mean, if I did blow up, I would. Yeah.
I just loved it though. It's just literally like ramped up. But that's my thing with with the flights at the moment. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing it. It's literally you go stationary 1,000 miles an hour at times, or even if you're actually going along, it's suddenly.
I think a lot of the issues that I'm having are because of dropped frames. My client will just freeze for a few seconds and then pick back up, and the next thing I know, I'm bouncing off a moon.
Yeah,
that's what happens to me as well. Yeah, I'm definitely the freeze frame.
A lot of people say that, and I'm like, I'm sat there looking at my 40 frames a second, going.
A lot of people keep going on about 60 FPS. I don't really care about 60 FPS. I can get 40 FPS. What I care about is a steady 30
stable
40 FPS. Exactly.
Actually, that was it. It was Uber Nerd was talking about this, right? And I'm going to put this to the panel here and to chat.
No.
Okay. He mentioned, I was chatting about the hover mechanics and talking about ramping up speed and crashing, and I was chatting to him, and the Nox, for example, came up and chat, and I was in his chat, and I was going, and I'm not calling out anyone in particular. It was just an interesting topic, and I said to him that the hover mechanics are broken, they don't work very well. And the Nox is just terrible, and he said that if you were running at 60 frames per second, they would work well, and there was nothing wrong with them.
I was watching that stream, and I think generally you were both right. So he was talking about, I think it's ray casting.
So
yes, the developers have already said ray casting is balked because of the low frame rate, but at the same time, I agree with you that when I first saw Dragonfly, I think it was like an old Gamescom demo where, they were going through, and it was that particular demo where they showed
2016.
Thank you.
Where they were going through the planet,
yes. that dragonfly was not handling like the dragonfly that we have now. It was just hovering like a foot from the ground, and that's what I was expecting. So I agree with both of you. The ray casting is balked because of the frame rate, but
It
the
doesn't
dragonfly
fly
mechanics are
like
just
a hover bike.
The
Yeah.
Nox,
whack.
the Nox is just even worse. And that's
Like you said before, it's now more like just a ship. It flies rather than hovers towards
Exactly.
the ground.
That's my
And
problem
that's
with
not.
it.
I would like to hover the ground. Because
I don't mind
noticed
it.
that on the
I don't mind
first
it
video
being
though.
flying. I don't mind it flying around in space, but we're on a planet, especially
Exactly.
with
Want it to go,
gravity.
to
you
go
shouldn't.
down.
You shouldn't be just whoop, I'm gone. I'm a rocket into space.
But on that first one where we saw the sandworm and they was on the dragonfly there, I thought the same then, because when he was going over the desert, it kind of, there was one where there's a big drop off, and instead of like following the drop off, he went up and just hovered for like ages as he gently went down. And to me, that took the thrill out of it. I would want to have been the one that got over the edge of the cliff and then boom, dropped down, and instead you didn't. He just floated down. I thought, oh, that really felt wrong. It just, I wanted
And also,
to be like
that takes away from a lot of the fun, which is trying to find a route. Like, if you're on a bike, I would rather try and find a route down a cliff than just go flying off the cliff. But
I
that's
think
just me.
honestly, though, I think what we're going to see is that with rovers and buggies, they're going to be more difficult to traverse, but they're going to be faster in some ways.
Yeah.
Whereas the bike, that's the point of the bike, is that you're just going to go whoop, and I can just slowly, gently move down so I can traverse terrain quickly. But they're bikes. Like I can't hold like cargo or carry a giant gun in the back, or carry lots of people on a bike. So there's the difference between something that's fast and maneuverable versus something that's slower, like a tank, or but can carry a massive firepower or troops. So
yeah. The one underneath it, Miz, there's one. This is just a good one from West Sage. He actually put a really great video together showing all the latest ships that are coming this year, which is to play. This is not concept ships; these are actual ships that we're going to be able to.
Can I ask a question, actually, as we're coming on to this topic? How did you guys feel about the Reclaimer leak?
I was completely fine about it.
Feel about it.
I don't.
Do you know why? Because he's an idiot and he's just got himself banned because they got watermarks all over it, and the fact that he then reposted it with the watermark was even more hilarious. So.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like if you're quite ignorant, you wouldn't know that watermark was there because it is invisible.
But if
it isn't, but it's
he was somebody else, if he stole somebody else's, and someone say, "I gave to Paul, I gave you the picture in trust," and then you posted that then up on Reddit. And then shafted me because for whatever reason.
That's what the rumor is.
Then I would.
It's no good.
You're not supposed I've broken NDA because I shouldn't have been sharing it unless I shared it with another Evocati person. If I shared it with another Evocati person and that Evocati person has then shared it, then they should get banned because it's not. I don't know if the rules are okay. Are the rules the same? You can't share it amongst other Evocati?
You shouldn't really share it amongst other Evocati. Not really. You're only taking a picture to report a bug, so that bug should go straight to the website. You shouldn't really be going and showing it to someone else and
taking
saying,
glory shots. Yeah.
Look at my picture. There's no excuse for it. You're taking that picture to upload it. You shouldn't. And if you want someone to check the bug, then send them to your bug report to have a look at it.
I've made my case before, and I will make it again. Leaks hurt Star Citizen. They don't just hurt the like there's like, oh, this isn't hurt because it's just concepts. Like, yeah, the problem is that every time you leak a bit of ETF footage, it's buggy, it's shitty, and everyone who's looking for excuses to critique the game is going to find all the little problems in that footage and express that, and then that's going to get caught up by the media because the media likes negative press, and so we'll take this leaked footage shows Star Citizen's in serious trouble, and then suddenly everyone thinks that Star Citizen is a garbage game because of an alpha that's designed for closed testing. It's like taking the first iteration of a game that's not been released yet and then basing your entire estimate of a game based off of that footage alone. It's like taking a game that's barely been put together and or watching a movie, the first cut of a movie, but judging the entire movie based off that first cut that was made in the editing form, or a rough draft of a book. That's a really shitty thing to do. And on top of that, people do that. And by leaking it to really hardcore fans, you're also leaking it to those other people who do pick it up and do that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So it hurts.
Reclaimer is the ship that got me into Star Citizen. The moment I saw that piece of concept art, and I think everyone knows which piece of concept art that I'm on about, I knew straight away that I was interested in Star Citizen when I realized that that was a ship that we could actually fly. So when I saw those pictures on Reddit, I exploded with happiness and I was extremely excited. And I took those pictures and I posted them onto my Discord. But then about half hour later, I found a video on Reddit that showed another Evocati member, and I think he was just walking through Port Al-Assar or something like that, and the game was bugged beyond belief, right? And everything was flickering, and you know, like when you see people who have got broken graphics cards and all the geometry just completely explodes and stuff like that. It was that, and the guy was just, he posted in the description or in the comments on Reddit, just saying, "Oh, I don't care if I'm caught. This is a pile of shit." Blah 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 blah. And that's when I realized actually the Reclaimer leak. Generally, all leaks I fucking hate, because that guy, it's like Paul just said, the Reclaimer thing seemed like a cool thing at first, but then when you see the negative leaks come out like that, it really does make the game look bad, and you can't, you have to put them all in the same basket, you know.
I don't. It depends. It depends. For me, it's like I don't like. I agree with you guys in terms of the video leaks and stuff. I'm not really a fan of seeing video leaks and seeing the game in a bad light. But seeing a screenshot of a ship that I've already seen concept art sat on a platform, I don't really have.
Then why? Yeah, but exactly why I posted then.
Oh my God,
why do people then why do people give a shit? Like, you've already seen it. You've seen it in concept. You've seen it in ATV. Why is getting a screenshot from a build give a shit? But people lose their mind about it, like all the time. Like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Like, really, what it is people are looking for internet fame points. And
I agree with that for sure. There's no question about that.
People take their own personal vendettas, and CIG doesn't do a good job of filtering people who should be in ETF.
Okay, that's definitely another question.
And the problem about it is that ETF and PTU are designed to stress test the fuck out of the game, because there are 425 people working at CIG. But even if you get all 425 people to play the game, it's still only like a third of the lowest point in Star Citizen in terms of players playing.
And that's something what they were saying in the ATV.
That's a guess, So they need the ETF, they need the PTUs to just pound the hell out of the servers, because then they find bugs that don't exist in their own playthroughs. So.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Here's my question then. So, do you think you need a strong measure, like literally ban that person, or would it be like would you do a temporary thing and say, look, right, you're banned now, until X amount, banned for this Evocati round and for the next one, but you can come back.
I would ban from Evocati altogether.
Forever, never again, never allowed to ever do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they've proven they can't be trusted.
Yeah, but how can you learn from your mistakes if you haven't been?
Tough luck. Really, if you sign an NDA.
Yeah, Madness. Have you ever signed an NDA?
No.
You've never signed an NDA working for Nike or any other people, where they gave you inside information that you weren't supposed to deliver? In your own industry, if you broke an NDA, would anyone trust you again? That's the question. Because
it depends what you were leaking and who you were leaking it to. It would always be a bit of a smudge on you, because I think. But then if you're really, I don't know, there's all sorts of like stories between Adidas, NDA, staff stealing staff to come and work for them. You certainly wouldn't be able to go back to the company that you were previously at. Your
that's the same as a ban, isn't it? If you can't go back to the same company, isn't that the same as a ban?
It's a ban.
It's just that we've only got one company here. But you could, there's nothing stopping you going and beta testing or NDA and testing a different game.
There's examples if
you're banned from this one.
That's done it. I don't think anyone. Yeah, if you've leaked secrets that were damaging. I think it's hard to compare it exactly, but because we're talking about a screenshot of a ship we've already seen a million times. Whereas
that's not the point.
If it was really video footage,
so if you give someone your trust and they break it, but they feel like this is all right to break this part of trust, it's fine.
I'm playing devil's advocate slightly here. I'm playing the argument of like is it? Let's
So
say this
me,
person was really
it's-
good. Oh, okay, so say this person they gave it to somebody else, and it was somebody else's leaked it. They
Just
haven't.
give me a
leaked
minute while I make a little note against don't trust Americans. Some things are okay to leak. So hang on.
At a certain
I'm not-
at a
I'm not,
certain at a
you
certain
know,
point,
to
the
judge.
issue at a certain point the issue is not did you sign an NDA or did you not. The issue is do you want to help the game or do you want to hurt the game? Because that falls onto CIG, not onto the people who are leaking, but to CIG. Because as someone said, it could easily be someone picking up another person's screenshot or something like that and putting it in there. Now, to a degree, you're not supposed to be sharing a screenshot even amongst other people. But we're not talking about a complicated. We're not talking about a very complicated situation in terms of.
I just need to respond to Juan. I think it's Juan. Mr. Cornetto in chat. Mr. Cornetto says, I think Evocati is a dumb idea, but signing an NDA you don't need to is and breaking it is dumber. I agree with the second part, but Evocati is an amazing idea. Let me tell you why Evocati is a great idea. I think it was 2.0 and 2. I can't remember. But a
I
couple of
remember
those patches
2.0.
when they released were fucking awful, and that proved that we needed Evocati because everybody had a bitch fit, threw their shit in the air because the game was buggy, and that proved that we needed Evocati, and that is why I'm pretty sure we have Evocati today because of those couple of really bad patch releases that we had.
Well, the reality is also it's like anything that goes into ETF is going to make it into the final game unless they have some sort of issue with it, and then they tell everyone, hey, we had an issue with X, Y, or Z feature, it's not ready yet, and people were like, well, then I think it's people have this idea that they really want to get an early preview of the game. The problem is that getting an early preview of the game with a broken build of a broken game is like it's madness. It's insanity. Like I really don't I don't understand that concept. Like, hey, I'm here to. Only reason I want to get in is because I want to see it first. I want to be the first person to see it. But
it's not even that, is it? It's just I
what's the
can't
point?
wait. Like we're waiting anyway. We've got to wait for the game.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for it. And it's like, oh, if I can get it that week earlier, I can't wait. I want to get in there and touch it that week earlier. It's
But
not
it doesn't do
because they
anything because it's broken and it's not going to be fun.
I'm saying I'm not saying it makes sense, but that's the thought process. It's like I want to get, like, you know, I mean Evocati, and you know, there's so many times you go through it, and it's just like,
Can I
why do people want this?
Pause you. So we're talking about, I know people in chat, and I'm really enjoying what people are saying. And like I said to you guys, I mean, if you would ask, I'm playing a little bit devil's advocate. Personally, if I broke NDA, and if it's just literally me, yes, you should be banned. I'm just going to clear that up right now. I do think that the person should be banned, but I'm playing a little bit of the devil's advocate, just trying to squeeze out a few more 20 minutes of conversation. But here's my question to you though: how easy would that person be to create a new account, go and like fill out? If let's just say he's a prolific person that fills in bugs or whatever, how easy do you think there is actually a potential problem with Evocati where they do have? This is why they've created the watermark. Do you think?
Can I point something out?
People coming back again, being able to get in.
I used to work for a big hosting company, and you would not believe how easy it was to realize that somebody had duplicate accounts just from their billing information. If you sign up for Star Citizen, they have your billing information, and they can find out a lot about you, and they can work out that you have duplicate accounts typically.
Plus, it's a long process to get back into Evocati again.
Most NDAs require you some sort of legal identification as well.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I don't know.
We have to send.
But I am going to say
photos.
I am a little bit salty because I didn't get an invite to this Evocati round.
It's because you're not playing the game.
I'm really
Moist.
salty. I filled out 2 frigging issue
Vermintide.
council reports,
2?
and I
Whole
didn't
2?
get invited.
2, not just 1, but 2.
I have been. Hang on a minute. I'm going to clear this up. Every time the game crashes, there's a little button that says submit. I have pressed that button for almost 2 years.
Thank you.
And
you know
in.
what?
I don't understand why. I don't.
My
know.
crash handler even crashes. I still don't get invited.
I'm constantly pressing that. Would you like to submit this problem? Yes, and it says thank you for submitting. And I've never got into Evocati, and I've been pressing that button for over 2 years. It's appalling.
Out of interest, are any of you actually in Evocati?
This is just like Jake literally wants to
I
kill me.
remember the time, man. This a few patches back when you wanted to get in Evocati, and you went, I'm gonna bug report this time so I can get in Evocati. I'm gonna do it. And then I said, have you done one yet? And you went, no, not yet.
This is what right. This,
I'm
so
sure
this
I
is
said
why
I
I'm
have.
asking.
I pressed that
This
button.
is why I'm asking. Are any of you guys actually in the Evocati?
I am.
These.
Okay, so for the sake of Paul, do you actually enjoy being in the Evocati?
Not for the reasons why I enjoy playing the game.
Thank you. Madness, Miz, do you think you would actually enjoy being Evocati?
I am in it, so
I can't be. I would be banned instantly. I would never
I
be
don't
allowed
think
back
I'd
in.
enjoy
I
it.
would
I really
shoot
don't
them.
think I enjoy it.
I'd have
I
a
would enjoy
twitch.
it. That's why I don't.
They'd constantly be literally. I would be being chased around by people telling like
It's not-
CIG saying, "Madness, stop
just-
it."
it's not
Just
playing
stop
the game.
again. Don't
It's
do
not
it.
Yeah, a lot
playing
of
the
people
game,
don't
so-
realize actually what Evocati is and what it involves. And just from my previous work experience, I know that I wouldn't enjoy it because I have an idea roughly of what it involves.
And then the last. So here's the ships coming. So there's one we've got here which is talking about the ships. I think it's underneath. Yeah, citizens ship shapes or shape of ships to come. Which ones are you guys? If you see the video, I know we'll have to wait a little bit for it to come up. But which ones are you guys excited about on this list of ships that's coming? Because I can tell you that I am not excited about this Tonk in the slightest.
I bought one, and then I realized how big it was and how ridiculous it was, and now I'm going to give it away.
The Cyclone, well, that's not a ship, but they're classing it as a flight-ready thing. So I quite the Cyclone, but only because of the same reason like we said the Dragonfly at the moment isn't fun to play because it doesn't hover so much. I want that thrill of racing and bouncing all over the
Cyclone.
place.
I'm very excited about that.
Same.
For sure.
Oh, Cyclone! I'm super excited about just because
I think it will just give us a different type of gameplay. So.
Yeah, I hope that it just for me it's just a big grey cat, and the grey cat's fun, so I think it'll be brilliant fun. They've got the Terrapin, the Hawk. Wait and see the Terrapin again. What's interesting with these ships is a lot of these ships is like they have no real.
We don't.
They
have
are literally.
mechanics.
I look at them and I go, these are. If you look at them on a whole, this is Squadron 42. These are so Squadron 42 ships. They really are. If you look at
Defender,
it,
yeah, that's one's coming up.
if you look at it, you go through the Cyclone, kind of a land-based kind of driving vehicle. The Tonk. There's going to be a mission in Squadron 42 where we're going to be riding in a tank. I'm sure, shooting at things. It just makes sense.
When you say riding in a tank, you mean riding in a barn.
Yeah. The Terrapin. I'm guessing that's some sort of information kind of mission, perhaps, or some sort of thing. The Eclipse is like a. This is again
stealth
Squadron
bomber
42.
mission,
Yeah, stealth bomber mission.
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly. Hurricane, same deal. Heavy combat ship. The Raven, the EMP kind of ship. The Defender, maybe not so much. The Prowler, they might be just for Squadron 42 background ships. Do you know what I mean? To fill it out, to make it look when you meet an alien species and you see the entourage coming off, and you've got the Defender parked on the side there or something. The Prowler, the same thing. And then we've got the Vulcan, which again will be a industrial ship. I'm not sure about the 600i, but that might be for like royalty or something. Maybe there'll be a mission where we'll be on the old man's 600i or something, or some delegate, maybe a diplomatic mission.
That's easy. This is a staging thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
You're gonna meet someone high up.
I
or,
think I don't think we'll be flying all of these ships and all these vehicles. I do think that we will see a lot of these vehicles because it'll be easy for them to just drop them in. Like I have a feeling like the Cyclone and the tank there'll be missions where they're available or you're inside them or something like that, or you're supporting them. But and we're gonna see like Idrises, and we're gonna see Auroras and Hawks and Terrapins and Eclipses. But I don't think we're gonna get out of mostly like the Gladius, Hornet, maybe Saber, maybe Vanguard, F8 Lightning, Gladiator, Hurricane. Those kind of fighter ships, I think, are the main ships flying, and then everything else is just going to be stuff you see. So, but yeah, no, a lot of it is Squadron 42 based, I think. But I think the other thing is also simplicity. Some ships are just easier to make. Like the 600i is easier to make because they're working on the Origin pipeline. Like they need to get the 600i, 890 jump, redo the 300, and they have to do the X1 as well. So why not? Like if you're already making the design specs for the entire ship line, then make sure you have the 600i makes sense to work on. And the Hammerhead is super easy because how many freaking hammerheads, or how many freaking Aegis ships do we have? We got infinite numbers of Aegis ships. So what? Just take this hallway out of the Retaliator, and these.
Yeah, the hammerhead is literally 2 hallways and a cockpit, right?
Yeah,
pretty much. But it's interesting because they got the Pioneer, so I'm guessing the Pioneer will be, well, like you said, maybe whether that's doing what it's supposed to do, or that's just going to be again an impressive ship for a scene.
Well, Pioneer, I think the Pioneer is required for them to do land claims, and if you look at the roadmap, land claims is in 3.3.
I know, but I'm like,
you mean 3.4, right?
That's
3.4, yeah.
That's one of my things that I think it's not going to make it until next year, if I'm being honest.
Well,
yeah, I was actually joking.
So
I think it is 3.3, but I suspect it'll either be pushed to 3.4 or next year.
I genuinely don't. I mean, it might be actually, but it's one of those ones. It's like I think it'll either be late or it will be like it will be there. That's slightly obvious. I don't know.
Again, it comes back to what we were saying earlier. I think a lot of stuff will end up being pushed.
Slip. Now, the only thing that I think is the opposite is ships. I think ships will come earlier than we think. The reason why is because ships.
They have they've really refined that pipeline, but the rest of the stuff is stuff that they're trying something. Wow. It's not quite working, so they try something else.
They've refined what makes them the money. Isn't that interesting?
They've refined the thing that they've had to do over and over and over and over.
And it's for Squadron 42.
And it also makes sense because they really had to work on the ship pipeline for Arena Commander, and Arena Commander was the only thing you could play for like a year, so they really focused on that.
Plus, the actual building the ship itself isn't building the mechanic, so it's easier to just make a ship, box it, and do it than it is to actually try and get mechanics to work.
Yes, yeah. Well, this is it. That's why they're doing a lot of this. Keep back. Yeah, it's a bit of they've learned from their past mistakes, and they're definitely building the ships internally first and externally later. I think is the smartest thing that they've learned.
And that was something I was going to say actually when we were talking about Squadron 42. So we're seeing them build a lot of these ships, but do we realistically need the interiors for a lot of these ships for Squadron 42? But that
yes,
I'm answering my own question. Well, at the end of the day, like, even if we didn't need them, the people designing the interiors aren't the same people designing the exteriors, I guess. So
if you don't think that Madness or myself or Miz will disable a ship just to board the ship and see whether they have the interiors working, you're gonna have a bad time.
Already been doing it in the PU. When you saw the pirates, what was the first thing I want to do? Let's disable the fucker and try and steal one of these pirate ships. Every ship you see, if you're supposed to be able to get to it, we're gonna try and get to it. We're gonna try and get in it.
Scum. That's what I like to call you all. Scum.
You're ruining the cinematic of it.
We're those players in D&D games that make DMs want to rip their hair out and throw like the game board across the room because it's like we have this grand adventure to save the princess. Let's go to the bar and get wasted.
Go over there.
Already happened a lot of times.
I drive Miz crazy in our D&D session and a few other people crazy because they're like, we want you to go this way, and Madness is like, oh fuck that, I'm going this way.
All I want to do is take a cargo load of gold and corn and space hookers from A to B.
Yeah,
that's all I want, and then I'll be happy. But you lot got to ruin it every time.
Yeah.
I want to steal the corn and steal the hookers.
Listen, I don't
back with me.
I don't want to steal anything. I just want to sneak aboard and like crash the party and then be.
Oh, that's fine.
And then when you discover that I'm not supposed to be there, then I kill everyone on the ship and then take
the question is
no.
The question is, are you bringing rum? If you're bringing rum, welcome aboard.
No, I'm not bringing anything. I'm
spoil your rum.
And just drinking and taking all the drugs.
Oh, if you're taking my rum, you'll die.
Yeah.
No.
You're transporting corn, and he's just gonna like make it all go off. That's what he's thinking. He's not gonna nick it; he's just gonna make it all go off. So you go there, and you got spoiled corn everywhere.
Yeah. I'm gonna sneak aboard your space potatoes and just like release mites that'll eat all your potatoes. So by the time you get there, it'll be like no potatoes left, and just me sitting there laughing.
I leave with potatoes. I get some to point B to find it's all been replaced with vodka.
Yeah, just a giant leaking vat of vodka that I've created out of your space potatoes.
Do we have any more questions? Does anyone want to throw more questions at this? No, no more questions.
None on the sheet.
Clearly, they realise we're people of little knowledge.
Well, no, I've learned an awful lot about the lore tonight. So
Yeah,
that's...
well, this is, actually, if you do want to know about the lore, I've watched a few.
Follow the Astropub. He does the Galactic Lore series.
Just need the comic book version next. So basically, if someone's at a comic book, take Paul and do a comic book version of that, and we're golden.
Paul, do you have a YouTube series for your lore stuff?
I do.
It's funny you should
Can
ask.
you actually please link it in chat? Because you're normally streaming too late for me, but I will definitely watch your stuff on YouTube.
I stream usually really early in the morning for most Europeans and or British folks. So let me see my playlists. I do have one.
Because I do want to learn more, but I struggle with the lawmakers stuff.
But
I think it's purely because I've jumped into it too late.
They are writers, not presenters, and the problem is that like the stuff that I've done, I have 11 videos. The longest video is an hour, and the shortest video is 16 minutes. So if you watch them in order from the very beginning, which is where I break down the UE government, all the way to the most recent one, which is Origin Jumpworks, then you should be okay in terms of catching up on most of it. I'm going to go back and redo some of the older ones as well. My goal is to take basically what I do with the Galactic Historians. I take the Lore Maker's Guide to the Galaxy, the lore posts that they post, the like galactic guides they post, and other information I can find that they've talked about. I put them all together, and I make a summary of essentially a planet, or not a planet, but like a government, or an event, or a company, or like a time period in history, so that you can get an idea of what exactly is going on and like the whole context of it. That way, it's easier to digest. And because Star Citizen is heavy lore based in terms of what it's supposed to do, like you got to know the difference between this mercenary company and this mercenary company, because if you for this mercenary company, you may piss off the UEE or may piss off this one branch, so you have to, kind of your reaction, your individual, pull it up here.
Again, that was something with EVE Online. It was a constant balance of trying not to piss off certain factions by making other factions happy. It was always something that I kind of struggled with and kind of gave up in the end. And I couldn't go to certain areas of space in EVE Online purely because I pissed off certain factions. I was supposed to sell space hookers here. I'm sorry.
I watched them, and I'm enjoying them. I just think that you need hand puppets to really help sell the story a bit more.
Well, no, what I really need is I need to have moving graphics, and I need to have recreations. If I'm going to do like a documentary style thing, I need videos or pictures, and the problem is that they don't exist.
Well, no, maybe they do. Maybe you do. And if you should maybe sign an NDA. Oh, then you can't post the video, can you, on YouTube?
No, sign an NDA. You go. There is. It just have a video in the background, just all blurry.
If CIG wants to work with me to make an official CIG lore series in which I kind of break down the lore, I will do that. I will 100%.
They kind of already do that, don't they, with the lore TV show or something that they do?
Yeah, but they don't. Do. Like Paul says, it's like they're telling you. They're people that writers are just telling you what they've written, basically, whereas it's not presented.
And the problem is that it's not in context. So they'll tell you about how this happened during this reign of the Mezzers, but you may have no freaking idea what that means. This Mezzer did this. It's like, well, who cares? And you have to go back and that's because this Mezzer is the daughter of this Mezzer, who was the grandson of this Mezzer, and because he did this, and they did this, and then as a result, Aegis Dynamics is in their pocket, so it makes sense that Aegis is building a facility on this planet with the help of the Mezzers. So they don't tell you that; they assume you understand that because they've already written that.
So what they definitely need to collaborate with Paul, and I think sort that out.
Definitely need to.
Hand puppets, pop-up version, or even Robot Chicken style stop motion kind of characters with some of me. I could do some of this cheesy voices with the characters, that'd be quite fun.
Generally, I would really like to see SIG collaborate more with creators in the community, and I can't remember who I was having the conversation with. It might have been in your stream, Madness, but
I think we were talking.
I was talking about, or it might have been the podcast last week where I was talking about. Oh no, sorry, I stole the idea. That's awkward.
It's so bad.
When we were talking about like t-shirts and shit. And like I genuinely think, like, no disrespect to the people who designed the official Star Citizen t-shirts, I think they're crap. Whereas some of the fan ones are phenomenal, and I would love to see them team up with creators in the community to bring out more video content, comics, t-shirts, whatever.
Well, and the thing is that a lot of us aren't looking for money. Like if CIG was to tell me, hey, we want to work on your series, I would just be like, cool, just so long as you promote on your series that you're working with me and I can use you as a reference when I'm working with other game developers, because that's a huge deal. If like people like Meyer and Gamble who are able to stream for CIG, they can use that in their resumes when they're dealing with other game companies, and that means that they're more trusted. It's like, oh, were able to work closely with a game company, and they trusted you enough that they let you on. That's a huge deal for any content creator, because it means that other game companies will be more willing to work with you in that way, and it becomes a little bit easier for you to go get invites to do live streams or videos from studios and all that kind of stuff. So that helps on top of being popular and stuff, but that wouldn't be too difficult. If Saurus or if Nubifire were able to get their t-shirt designs be officially labeled by CIG, that's a great boost to their own kind of like, hey, reputation. So
here's a little juicy story for you guys from the Bar Citizen. That we were talking about this very topic actually at our Bar Citizen, and they're really hot on not licensing the Star Citizen. They're very, very hot on banning from licensing and things like that, and to the point where I believe, this is again slight rumor mill, but I believe it's true because someone said it was someone that basically
somebody said it.
Somebody said it, so I'm going to tell the story anyway. And they can completely dismiss it, but supposedly Christmas baubles in the CIG's office had the logo printed on them, and this could be completely. And supposedly somebody, I can't remember the person's name, but whoever was who was in charge of like making sure the brand not showing the logo and putting the logo on things, came around and collected all of the Christmas baubles that had the logo on and took them away.
But something that you have to bear in mind in order to protect a trademark, that really is
that's a bit
that's just a rumor.
It's just a rumor. Yeah, 100% confirmed.
But in order to protect the trademark, you have to enforce the trademark. So I kind of get why, but that's where I genuinely think they should have a partner program, where they work with.
Yeah, but like you say that madness, but then they've got the fan kit where you can actually they distribute in the logo with the fan kit. So how can you not use it as long as you're not selling it?
I don't know.
Because I thought that was the thing. If you're not selling it, you're allowed to use it.
Yeah, it's completely different when you're trying to make money from it, and
that's
the
Christmas baubles. No one's making money from it.
I don't mean to be a downer, but like it's gone on because of the time difference. It's like 6:30 and my time, and I gotta go.
We're gonna wrap it up. Actually,
we were meant to wrap up 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna have to call it. Yeah. Good time.
If you need to rush away now, then that's fine. Just go now. That's all good.
If we're wrapping up, that's fine.
We're wrapping up. We'll wrap it up.
So, as the Astropub crashes, but no, I'm just kidding. We got to the end anyway. So, thanks everybody for watching. We're going to quickly go around and just say what everybody's up to, and then we'll end it there. So, Astropub, you go first. Tell us what you're up to, where people can find you, all that sort of jazz.
I do Star Citizen content mostly. I am going to be doing another Galactic Historian Wednesday. Wednesday night we'll be doing Drake Interplanetary, the history of Drake Interplanetary for Galactic Historian. On Thursday we do kind of a random game, like a space game of some kind, and on Friday we'll be playing more Star Citizen. Saturdays we do a podcast like this called The Captain's Table. That's at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. I don't know the GMT now. I think it's what time is it there in the UK right now?
20 past 11.
20 past 11.
Yeah. So it's right now at least. It's 10 like 10 p.m. or so 11 p.m. GMT, which is like 10 p.m. BST or BST.
We're not quite there yet. We've got another couple of weeks before that kicks in.
Yeah. So we got this weird time difference. So it's a little bit different right now.
He doesn't get much of my sympathy. I was on his show the other night till 2-3 o'clock in the bloody morning.
I constantly message him, Paul, I need to go. I'm really literally barely hanging on. Paul's like, I'm on a 24-hour stream, Madness. Fucking, you're staying up, motherfucker.
Oh, no sympathy.
You did well, man. You did really well on that, by the way. Congratulations. Well done.
Thank you, man. But yeah, no. So we do content. I've got a YouTube where I do. I put up Galactic Historians. I put up my own podcast, and then we also I've been doing a lot of Sea of Thieves. So I've got a bunch of stuff from Sea of Thieves that we've done for playthroughs and such. And we'll be doing that with other games as well. We'll do some from Far Cry 5. We'll do some for BattleTech. Some of the other space games that are coming out and such too. So see you there.
Awesome. Moist.
Surprisingly, I'm actually really hyped for Star Citizen at the moment. I will complete dyeing my hair, but I'm going to spend most of this week binge watching a new series that I've just discovered called Galactic Historian. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I think it's 6 hours. So
it's a bit 6 hours. So one a night, and I should be caught up by next week. But yeah, looking forward to that. We are doing a giveaway as well for this month, Asylum Podcast. So let me chuck the link into chat. That's for a Vulcan LTI. Vulcan. Oh, there we go. Fantastic.
You can send out lots more Gleam Twitter thingies to other people.
Because there's not enough Gleam Twitters going around at the moment. Yep. So add another one to the mix.
But yeah, I'm also going to be streaming Vermintide 2 this week as well, and I might possibly do some streaming of Kingdom Come Deliverance as well. So nice. That's pretty much me.
Excellent.
Nice.
Madness.
Nice. I am. Hopefully, my kitchen will be finished Wednesday, and then I will be doing another IRL stream. So I did my IRL stream to Bar Citizen on Monday, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed it.
I realised that you had a really big head.
I do have a really big head. Yeah. What can I say? And I will. I think it's mostly to the fact with Moist. I don't have one of those stupid freaking thing. I was literally holding the
stick.
I was literally holding it next to my face. It's like I can't get my arms don't go any further away.
He was walking up to random strangers and going, "Look, she's doing the same thing as me." Wow, such a weird.
It was one of those. It was a fun experience. I enjoyed it, and but I need to do some weight. I need to get fit, and so I'm going to be doing cycling around. I'm going to do Madness's tours, cycling tours around London.
Here's a red bus.
Yeah, literally dead. So real life stream sniping will be occurring. People can try and take me out on my bike. That'll be fun. No, I'll yeah. So I'm going to be doing that, and then I'll be doing obviously Friday. Try and do some Star Citizen streaming on Friday as I always do, and then get back into my usual routine for the following week. I'm still waiting on information from work to see if I'm going to be traveling to Vietnam. It seems like it's maybe not. So if not, I'll be streaming up until the baby's born, and then once the little one's born, I'll be probably
Madness.
It'll be probably the same as Gamble, really. It'll be like, oh, Madness has died, and then 2 months later, I'm like, no, I'm not dead. I'm here. It's fine. I just had a kid. But yeah,
cool.
That's me.
Excellent. And for me, as always, Paint, Prattle and Roll Wednesday nights, where I do some painting of the miniatures for D&D and all sorts of other things. And on the Friday, we do Stout and Sturdy Dungeons and Dragons edition. We're carrying on with that story for a couple of weeks, and then we will be starting our proper campaign, hopefully.
Yeah.
Wait, this isn't the proper campaign?
No, this is just...
Why have I been watching? I'll wait for the proper campaigin.
It's all just lies.
This is Let Me Kill Them All campaign, so yeah. So if you like that sort of thing, come in and tune in on Friday on my channel at 8:30, I think we begin, UK time.
Yeah. I'll
Other
be
than
doing
that,
a wizard with Tourette's. That'll be quite a fun one.
That's
my next D&D character.
Trying to DM that. That'll be fun. So yeah, at the moment we're all learning and that, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty much me.
Think so?
So
are we gonna host somebody, by the way?
I was just gonna raid Dr.
What's
Dr.
that?
Jones. It'll be fine.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
Cheers, buddy.
Love you.
Love you, man.
Thanks everybody. Catch you all later. Bye.
See you all later. Have a good one.
The awkward way.
Like, just bad.
Go.
I love that disappearance. Was awesome. It just like cast a little magic spell. So yeah, guys, thank you very much for all the follows and all the bits that have been thrown. Really appreciate that, and all the support. We're going to go over and raid Dr. Drones just so we can end it nice and smoothly. Thank you, everybody. Tune in next Monday if you're not into D&D. Goodbye.
Bye.